an opportunity to steal.
The guys who quote the Bible and say, I'm a Christian and all that, and you know they're thieves. Return what you have stolen 4 times. If you know that you have property or anything that you have stolen, just return and say, my God does not allow me to hold stolen things.
We are also a reflection of you, because you elect us. You know, we don't get into our office by ourselves. We are a reflection of the people who elect us.
We don't want to go to the streets. We have a constitution that enables us, assert our will.
When the legislature are now being taken as hostage by the executive for whatever reason, we are now bound by what they want us to do.
This is just outside the realms of reality. We have impunity written into the DNA of our political class.
How old were you when you learned that Jeshi la Wokoh is Jeshi la Wokoh?
I can't say it very well.
SpiceFM, Nyeri.
On the 3rd of January, let's see what the new year has in store for traffic. We're looking at a little bit of it on Mombasa Road today, and a lot of changes have happened there. Things opened and closed, but there seems to be some traffic right around the Maritime, and that is outbound. Inbound, not too bad right now. We'll take a look at what it looks like shortly, but the Southern Bypass looking pretty good. There's an option for you to get into the city a lot quicker. But you may not need it because most parts of the city are flowing free and clear today, and we're not having much of an issue. Coming off Jogo Road looks pretty good going into the CBD. Haile Selassie is where we'll see some action, as well as right in the middle of the city. Let's take a look at the Thika Superhighway, where there's not much action there at all. Seems that Nairobi has not woken up from its holiday just yet. But like we said, things could change in about half an hour or so as folks creep back into the city. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text on 40127. Let's keep things moving this Monday morning.
Broadcasting worldwide, Spice FM. This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down.
It's 8 minutes after 6. A very good morning to you. Happy New Year. Kenya's biggest conversation is back. Ndu.
Yeah.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Eric Latiff.
Imagine it's 2022.
The 3rd of January, to be specific. Didn't ever think this year would come, and then voila, here it is. Hits
Just
you right
like
in the
that.
face, like cold water.
Feels just like the other day we were saying happy 2021.
We did do that, didn't we?
Yeah. And we were saying in a few days' time it'll be 2022, and then it'll be elections. Now here we are. In a few days' time, we'll be talking about the recently concluded general election.
And the new president. And your new governors.
Yes.
And your members of parliament and MCAs.
Just like that. Hey.
I have to ask the question. I have to ask the question.
Ask it.
Ulivuka vizuri?
Bwana. Tunashukuru Mungu.
Yes.
Tunashukuru Mungu. Tulivuka mwaka vizuri. Imagine. Our friend and brother C.T. Muga will not be joining us today. He's extending his holiday a bit. Just a few more days. You do this. You guys just go back.
I'm coming.
So here we are. Welcome to the big conversation today, and we are glad that you are joining us this morning. Happy New Year to everybody. Wherever you are, we'll be opening up the phone lines shortly so we can all interact and engage, and let's get to understand. Ulivukia mwaka wapi? Uko wapi? How are you feeling in the new 2022, right? And during that whole entire time, there was a lot that was still happening in the country.
Quite.
Right? And the bigger thing is the number of people who've crossed into the year and the many expectations that we all have for this new year, for the country, the things that happened in the country and in the world, and we'll be looking at them as we begin the show and as we continue with the show throughout this whole month. It'll just be Happy New Year until June. Yes.
It'll be Happy New Year till June.
Until June.
Okay.
The president, in his two-part implementation of the electricity, what was it?
Relief? What? Something.
Something. Yeah. So 15% by the end of December
2021
is the pledge that he made. And then the other one progressively by the end of the
March
first quarter.
2022.
Yeah. End of December came and went. We are in the 3rd of January. Have you received your bill for December, your power bills for December? Is there an indication of a 15% reduction in the bill?
When you bought your tokens, did you see that you got more token for shilling?
Yeah. If you buy your token today, is there going to be like a 15% increase in the amount
Question.
of units that you get? That is a conversation that we want to have with somebody who's a power billing expert. Mr. Ndereba will be joining us at 7 o'clock. Let's begin that conversation. Is this really realistic, what the president has pledged, what the implementation task force of the presidential task force on electricity, billing, blah, 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 what they are implementing? Is it realistic? Is it coming to pass? Or will it just be something that will come like an abracadabra of sorts?
Magic.
Yes. But let's begin with COVID-19 in numbers because we still have COVID.
Indeed, there is still COVID, Eric. Since the last time we spoke, which was literally 10 days ago,
Yes.
the cases of COVID in the world have increased by 30 million cases. We were at 260 million cases as of the 22nd of December. We're now on the 3rd of January, barely, 10, 15 days later. Those cases have increased by 30 million, and we're having quite a number of those increments around the world. Let's look at Kenya specifically and what's happening with that. 1,354 new virus cases, with 400 of those being recoveries. We're listening to the CS Kagwe, and he said that 1,029 patients are currently admitted in various health facilities countrywide, and 23,000 are in home-based care isolation and home-based isolation and care. The fatalities have risen to 5,384, and we're looking at a positivity rate now of 25.4%. A few days before that, we heard acting director of medical that, and this was Dr. Patrick Amoth, saying that, you know what, we're just teetering below 30%. If we cross over to beyond 30%, then we're going to be in a bit of a pickle. So he said the hope was that we could reduce it significantly and fall below 30. And I think that Kenya has been at this 25, 24, 23 over the last few days. This latest recording is at 25.4%, and it'd be interesting to see what it will be like over the next couple of days. Also, something else very interesting, the influenza A and its relation to COVID. A lot of people got sick over the last month with this flu symptoms, etc., etc. Now, people would go in and get tested because of the symptoms that they were experiencing, and a lot of times the result would be positive for COVID. You would start feeling better after a couple of days, and you would go back, get another test, and the results would be negative for COVID. So the symptoms mirror one another, but it was not necessarily that you had COVID. But because the symptoms were the same, and the virus, still being a flu virus, presented in the same manner like COVID, we had a lot of COVID-19 cases that were actually not COVID. Do you see what's happening now? Then contributing to this high positivity rate, contributing to these high numbers of COVID-19, because look, once it's a positive test, it's put into that bank of numbers.
Yep.
But people would then come back feeling a little bit better after a couple of days, and then you go back and you get a test and it's negative. So the influenza A symptoms mirrored those of COVID-19, but actually was not COVID-19. So it's interesting that this happened around this time where we see higher numbers, but it's actually not COVID. That was interesting to see. And we still have a lot of those presenting The weather is getting warmer now. And people are not suffering from this. So it would be interesting to see then if these cases of COVID then drop with the warmer weather.
Quite interesting.
Very.
Quite. But all in all, we thank God. Are you online? Because we are live streaming the show already. 17 minutes after 6. Say hello to us and we'll be saying hello to you shortly after taking a look at the weather forecast for Nairobi, for other towns and cities in the country and Africa and all over the world. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
If I'm found guilty, there is no problem. I'm willing to serve. I have no problem. Jails are meant for human beings.
They say a society gets the leadership it deserves. If you have a corrupt, crooked and rotten society like we have in Kenya, then of course they will get that kind of a leadership.
I think the president should dissolve parliament. That's the best solution at this moment in time. Dissolve parliament.
All of you go home.
Yes, we all go home.
How are we encouraging other people who might have new and creative ideas? Young people who are making money without any government help. They are just buying their own bundles. They are going on TikTok and making money. KRA is coming after them.
I've been in parliament for 15 years. We have been unable to pass the gender law. And yet no presidential candidate is talking about it now. Because we are fake. The truth is, all the men refuse to vote for that law.
What did Sonko do to Pumwani Maternity Hospital?
Yeah, he
with
cleaned
his
it up.
own money.
Cleaned it with his own money. That was him as an individual.
Yeah. And I did not say he was cleaning his own money. I was saying he cleaned it.
Foot, mouth. Foot, mouth. Eric.
Okay.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Mostly cloudy conditions in Nairobi at 16, highs of 26 today and lows of 16. It's clear in Nakuru at 13, highs of 28. 25 will be the high in Nyeri, where it's cloudy currently at 11, coming down to just that low for today. Eldoret is clear at 12, highs of 26. And we're looking at clear conditions in Mombasa at 25, highs of 33 and lows of 25. In Malindi this morning, it's mostly clear at 27, highs of 31 and lows of 26. Kisumu is clear at 20, highs of 29 and lows of 19. While in Kakamega, clear conditions herald the morning at 16. We'll see highs of 30 and lows of 15. Let's look out into Kampala, where it's mostly clear at 20, highs of 27 and lows of 19. While in Dar es Salaam, it's raining this morning at 27, highs of 33 and lows of 26. Clear conditions in Johannesburg at 14, highs of 26 today. And Lagos is clear at 26, highs of 33 and lows of 25. Kinshasa, rain showers this morning at 24, highs of 30 and lows of 23. It's sunny out in Beijing at 3 going into early afternoon, highs of 7 and lows of -9. Cloudy conditions in Paris at 11, highs of 12 and lows of 9. And we're looking at mostly clear conditions in London at 10. It'll go to highs of just 11. New York, Sunday night is mostly cloudy at 3. We'll see highs of 13 coming into Monday and lows of -1.
Spice and everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice up your life.
All right, 20 after 6. People are online already.
Yes, quite a lot of folks this morning.
Yes.
From Europe, Becky Odhiambo says, Happy New Year to you all. Happy New Year, great team. That's Ndu Victor, says he's tuned in from Kakamega. And Edwin Kip Courier tuned in from Eldoret this morning. Dongo Wagadhua is asking, what happened to your 94.4 frequency in Gatanga? Wonder why. What's going on there? That will have to be looked at. Dorcas Kimova is in Malindi this morning and says, Happy New Year. I had to set the alarm so I don't miss the start of the show. Well, karibu sana, nimewamiss sana to same. Tulikumiss, yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Roger's line. Happy New Year. County 001 tuned in, and Ben says he's tuned in from Kwale County. Happy New Year and welcome back, says Odero. Good morning. Happy New Year to all Spice FM family tuned in from Mombasa. And Edwin Nganyi says, good morning from Embakasi. Victor Saropoulos says, Karibuni Sana, good to have you guys in the Situation Room this morning. Karibu.
Yes, karibuni sana, everybody. And we are glad that you're able to join us today. So, today's proverb is a Somali proverb. The teeth and the tongue are close neighbors, and yet they sometimes bite each other. The teeth and the tongue are close neighbors, and yet they sometimes bite each other. Well, of course, they don't bite each other. We know what bites the other. But, yeah, you know what happens. Sometimes they'll clash.
They'll clash, even if you're just living in the same space.
Yep.
Or because you live in the same space.
Because you're in the same
bound
space.
to clash.
That's a Somali proverb for the day. The teeth and the tongue are close neighbors, and yet they sometimes bite each other. Let's take a look at the newspaper headlines, shall we? So a lot happened yesterday.
A lot.
It was just news of, waking up to the announcement by the president that the former Attorney General, Charles Njonjo, had died. And no sooner had that announcement been made than the next thing you're hearing, he's actually been cremated.
Yeah, he's been cremated before 11 a.m.
Like that. And that's according to his wishes. The Standard today has dedicated a number of pages to the story and the obituary of Charles Njonjo, Kenya's first Attorney General, independence. He served for very many years as Kenya's AG, and now there are very many stories that go with that. Njonjo did great things, made big mistakes. The other one is how the former AG rose to the top and fell and then rose again. The first black AG despised African lawyers and pilots. The lifestyle of the former Attorney General, rich unrecorded history. You know, a lot that he could have said about his life and times as Kenya's Attorney General. And one time he was asked, actually, by on TV, when are you writing your memoirs? And he said, I'm not.
Because he had nothing to say, or because he lived it?
Well, many times when, in fact, even the Njonjo Kehuria, who's a journalist, asked him at one point, right, and he said, I'm not that vain to talk about myself. And when Jeff Koinange asked him, he said, no. I'm going down with what I know. There's a lot that I know, and I'm not going to disclose it. Of course, this is somebody who knew quite a bit. He was the Attorney General when Kenya attained independence.
Sure. A lot of the inner workings of government, as well as what would be today looked at like or as secrets. Who did what when, who bore the responsibility for things that may have gone right or wrong.
Yep.
So, I mean, clearly, he probably had a wealth of information, a wealth of knowledge, and then, again, decided, yeah, well, I'm not going to share that for whatever reason. And interesting, probably was one of the last men or women who had that and was still alive.
Yep.
And then chose not to share about, what went on around those times.
What was happening in the Kibaki, not in the Kibaki, in the Kenyatta cabinet at independence. I mean, he saw vice presidents appointed and falling out with the president. He saw ministers appointed and falling out. He saw many come and go. He superintended the legal system at that point when Kenya was basically just getting into becoming a republic.
Yeah.
The exit of the colonial masters, the Africanization of government, Africanization of African institutions, all those things, what mistakes were made at what point. He would basically have told very big and many stories of what happened in those years. He has chosen not to.
He chose not to.
Yeah.
It's very interesting, this story here, about how he rose to the top and fell and rose again many, many times. Just a little bit of that story here. And it says Mackenzie was killed in an air crash in 1978, which was continued from the story on page 3. What looked like an assassination. There was a galore of more exotic cronies in the country and beyond. Their alleged alliances with Njonjo would be laid bare during the 1983-1984 Miller Commission into Njonjo's conduct. but all this would be futuristic. For now, Njonjo had been on the national landscape protecting Asian interests in the country against assault by politicians like Butere MP Martin Shikuku, who liked to deride him as paper citizens, them as paper citizens. Shikuku lamented that Kenya's economy was Asian-dominated. Njonjo came out solidly in their defense. He was also the legal mind behind the protection of settler land rights and Kenya's famous refrain that there were no free things in Kenya. If the people of central Kenya thought that they would get free land after independence, this philosophy stood squarely in the way. Instead, the million-acre land fund that Kenya negotiated with the British at independence went largely to a dominant elite class from central Kenya. Members of this class had been largely of the home guard fraternity. Just like in the colonial era, they were far-sighted to adapt to the changing times. They took most of the top jobs in government and the largesse that came with them, among them land in the White Highlands. The office of the Attorney General was key in facilitation of these happenings. I think that was interesting because he sat in that office at that time, and distribution of this land then came at the hand of his office. The community in 1977 eventually collapsed. He was reported to have toasted with Mackenzie in celebration of the demise. This is in Njonjo now. They thought that the community was dragging Kenya's economic growth behind. They worked for its collapse, they said.
Yep. And he was proud to say that.
Yes.
And he kept
didn't
repeating
hide
it. Even after the revival of the EAC, he kept saying, this thing is a non-starter. It's going nowhere. And he strongly believed that what's the point of having an East African community? Let us go alone. We are bigger. We are better. What? There's also a story that talks about his wealth. From hotels to insurance and banks, Njonjo invested in many sectors of the economy. This story by Dominic Omondi, also in the Standard, talks about the various investments. One of them being the Sankara Hotel in Westlands, where that was started in 2011 with billionaire businessman Balubhai Patel. In that year, Grenadier Limited won an award in the category of Best New Hotel Construction and Design in Africa for the Sankara Nairobi. So he was the chair of the Sankara Hotel Group, and Patel is the chairman of Grenadier Limited, the holding company of Sankara Hotel, where Njonjo was also a shareholder. Grenadier also owns Larson's Group, located in Samburu County, one of the 3 properties that are part of Wilderness Lodges, the company's other hospital business. A lover of Victorian mannerisms, the very many things that Njonjo was also associated with the Solio Ranch in Laikipia. In the 80s, he teamed up with Jeremiah Kiarani and other politicians to make strings of acquisitions in corporate Kenya. Through investment vehicle African Liaison and Consultant Services, Alico, they acquired interest in companies like CMC Motors, CFC Holdings. In Njonjo, in 2014, sold his stake in CFC Bank to the Standard Bank Group of South Africa. That's now, the bank is now called CFC Stanbic and now Stanbic Bank. So besides Njonjo, the other top shareholders in Alico included Jeremiah Kiarani, who was a former head of public service, Julius Geshao, who was a former Kenya Power CEO, the late businessman P.K. Jani, former police chief Ben Gethi, former cabinet minister Bruce Mackenzie, spy master James Ganyotu, also had shares in this Alico company. So you see, the big boys.
Indeed.
You want to hang with the big boys.
Literally,
this
that's what
was
it
it.
was.
Yes.
It's interesting because right now I remember that in church there was this one particular seat that Njonjo would sit in.
And this is at the All Saints Cathedral.
All Saints Cathedral. Every Sunday, same seat with the rose in his lapel and his pinstripe suit every Sunday. And every time the choir would sing, he would stand up and applaud them on his own, whether anybody else was standing or not.
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Stand up.
He would stand and applaud every time. I thought that was really interesting. And he was never late to church. Never late.
Never.
Nope.
There's a story somewhere actually that talks about his some of those mannerisms that he had. He was always strict on time. That every time after lunch he'd take a nap. And so someone says a close family friend or a close family member was once quoted as saying that they had gone for lunch. I mean, they had gone to meet Sir Charles at about 1:30. And they're told, Mzee has just finished lunch. He has gone for his nap. You'd have to wait for 2 hours
Then you may see him.
And then you'll see him. Doesn't matter.
He's gonna stick to.
Oh yes, if it's 10:30, it's 10:30. It's not 10:30 because of traffic. No, it's 10:30 because it's 10:30. Kenya's biggest conversation takes a break at 28 minutes to 7. Let's take a look at the traffic. What's happening on the roads? You let us know if there's anything that we need to know and alert everybody else. There was a bad road accident yesterday, which we'll be looking at shortly as well. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
No, you know, this wheelbarrow, how can you give people wheelbarrow? His party symbol is an umbrella. Is he distributing umbrellas in Makueni?
Have you been told if we don't lock between 10 to 4, this is what we're saving?
You try and call them, the same person who was in your house every day, because they know you are influential and you will give them votes. Call them after 1 month and see if they'll pick up their phone.
Don't tell your member of parliament that you want him to come and build a school, you want him to come and do a hospital. That is not the work of the member. Now that we have devolution in this country, these resources should go to those devolved units.
You have to have strong, independent institutions. And I mean, you have to have police who has the right to take the biggest town in the country and question, why did you do this and that, and send them to court if necessary.
Joel in Kericho, good morning.
Salama sana Eric, habari ya asubuhi.
Salama kabisa. Mbunge wako ni nani?
Anaitwa Seriousness Maritim, hapa ni Ainamoi.
Seriousness Maritim, Ainamoi.
Yes. Sasa ile juma nampambia yeye nini? Amalize aende.
Oh wow.
Asante sana.
That's it.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Okay, so let's take a look at Mombasa Road. It looks like that's going to be a bit of an issue. So if you are in and outbound, right around the Gateway Mall, so that particular part of the road has been blocked off completely because they are now digging it up. So you're going to have to go forward just a little bit, and then there's a turn off, a diversion, which is marked, thank you Kenha, and you can use that then to get back into the city. So a little bit of a change. If you came in over the weekend and did not leave and then went back out, you might be a bit surprised, but you're going to have to move a little further along. If you're coming outbound from the city, also just know what lies ahead, that you're going to go a little bit further ahead in order for you to then make that turn. We expect that there will be traffic. We're already seeing a little bit of it forming just around there, but it's not too bad right now. Most parts of the city looking pretty good this Monday, guys. Jogo Road is building up a little bit, getting into the city. Langata Road looks really good right about now. We're seeing a bit of a mashup right in the CBD. Coming off Thika Superhighway, there's absolutely no traffic whatsoever. Neither is there any on Kiambu Road. Maybe folks are coming back next week. 10th of January, maybe? We'll wait and see. Talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127. Let's keep things moving this Monday.
Spice up your life. Spice FM, Malindi. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
8:25 minutes to 7. So what are you looking at, Ndu?
Okay, so I'm then looking at the Leakey story, which I thought was interesting. That hours after, we're looking also at celebrated conservationist, paleoanthropologist and politician Richard Leakey dies at the age of 77. And unfortunately, he did pass yesterday. I'm just remembering the Leakey name when we looked at so many things. You protecting the cradle of the earth, you know, talking about Turkana and how that needed to be protected in terms of Kenya's environment, the Leakey Foundation and the work that they did in terms of conservation, etc., etc., etc. So unfortunately, one of the world's most renowned conservationists, Dr. Richard Erskine Frere Leakey, died at the age of 77, hours after his close friend, former Attorney General Charles Njonjo, died and was cremated. Dr. Leakey was eulogized by President Uhuru Kenyatta as a globally renowned Kenyan paleoanthropologist and conservationist who has served Kenya with distinction in several roles, among them as Director of the National Museums of Kenya and Chair of the Kenya Wildlife Service. While running a powerful civil service, to being criticized as being too brash in his dealings in the conservation world, Leakey was a man who stood tall in life and handled whatever it threw at him. He fell off a horse and fractured his skull at some point, survived a puff adder attack, kidney failure, and a plane crash as well. My goodness, that didn't kill him. For a man who didn't believe in God, death had come too close on multiple occasions, and he survived on numerous occasions. God is the biggest fake news of all time, he said. I'm a humanist. I believe in evolution. He dropped out of school in Form 2, age 16, and tried different things: a tour company, keeping snakes, and even boiling carcasses and sending skeletons to museums abroad. He became director of the National Museums of Kenya when he was 22. He started his career in paleoanthropology by accompanying his father to different excavation sites. He became the chair of the KWS in 1990 when there was an influx of poachers. In one meeting, he gave them what humanitarians considered the worst advice. He told rangers that if poachers shoot at them, they should shoot back. After years in conservation, Leakey would find himself at the center of power in July 1999 when he was appointed as the head of public service. His mandate was to head a group of rapid response technocrats succinctly called the Dream Team. Remember that? And he was assembled by the president to bring discipline to the public service. The goal was to help boost donor confidence in Kenya at a time when the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund had suspended loans to protest over hitherto rampant corruption and political intolerance. So he did this for some time. He was recognized both home and abroad as a man of determination and integrity, attributes which are greatly needed at that time. The entire Dream Team was fished from the private sector. He himself was drawn from the KWS and the National Museums of Kenya. So, I mean, he had a very colorful and checkered career as well. He wrote several books, and he said Africa was the home of human ancestors 3.5 million years ago. And he wrote this in his books. He was born in December 1944 in Nairobi, the second of three sons of world-renowned archaeologist Louis Seymour Leakey and Mary Leakey. He was a third-generation Kenyan.
Another big story there of Leakey and the things that he did. And there are people who called him completely arrogant.
Yes.
It's because of, I mean, he had a firm belief in what he believed in. That's it.
There is no other way.
He did not have time for small talk, what he called small talk or small little arguments about things.
Yeah.
Okay? If you don't believe in evolution, you're stupid.
Yeah, something wrong with you.
I mean, can't you see?
How things have progressed.
Yes.
And if you believe in God, you're even stupider.
Yeah, you are worse off than everybody else. I mean, there are very many things that he did. Even venturing into politics with the formation of Safina. He was among the founders of the Safina political party.
Yes.
What happened to Safina, everybody knows. The whole issue of coming to register Safina at one point. At one point, Moi even talking about him publicly and, just insulting him and talking about that guy who's basically just a sellout who's trying to come and run our politics here like he understands anything, Yeah. Dr. Leakey is one of those men, Gwen.
Indeed.
He made his contribution to the country. And at least he wrote his books.
He did.
At least
he told
did.
his story.
At least he told his story.
Yeah.
Moses Gashari says, elderly and the elite should write books about Kenya back in the days.
But isn't that the only way, really, that you can capture and encapsulate history?
Yep.
That it's the people who lived at the time who then put it down, and then future generations can then learn.
Yeah.
It's what we had previously in the African setting with oral tradition, that fathers and mothers would sit their children down and tell them about times of old. And then later it was put down in books.
Yeah.
The only way for us to know what happened in the past is if those who lived at that time pen it down. And I think it's important. I would almost even call it a responsibility that you have at the time where you are to
keep documenting
Absolutely.
what you're going through, what's happening, what the experiences that you have in life. And it's not just about the elderly. I mean, it's everybody.
It's everybody.
Because for you to be able to tell the story in old age, you need to have documented it as you went along.
Indeed.
And there are some people actually who will tell you, how they look at their folks or their grandparents' diaries. Somebody had even jotted down, this is the day of independence, this happened, what they were watching, whether they actually went for the celebrations and what happened. Not necessarily people who were in government, but just the ordinary folk. And it's important. I mean, all those stories then put together would tell a very rich story of what's happened in our country and what's happening in our world as we keep living. This is very, very important. Other stories in the news. So, low business as parents switch to back-to-school preparations. That's on one page, or page 12 of the Standard. And then page 13 of the Standard. Schools in Uganda set to reopen for the first time since March 2020. Since March 2020, schools have been closed in Uganda. Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni announced plans to lift the COVID-19 containment measures this month that had been in place since March 2020, including reopening of schools, bars and nightclubs, citing rising vaccination rates. Uganda has imposed some of Africa's toughest restrictions. In September, some measures were eased, including allowing the resumption of education of universities and post-secondary institutions. In a televised speech on Friday, the president said pre-primary, primary and secondary schools would be reopened on the 10th of January. Bars and nightclubs will be reopened and a nighttime curfew lifted 2 weeks after schools have resumed. Movie theatres and sporting events would also be allowed to reopen, without giving further details. As of yesterday, Uganda had registered about 142,000 confirmed cases and nearly 3,300 deaths from COVID. He says Ugandans to get vaccinated as the first solution to COVID. Now, can you imagine all those measures in place for more than a year? A year and like 2/3.
Yeah. No school. No, all of these businesses shut down.
Things that we are, in this country, we had gotten to a point where there was a lot of pushback to the government. The government had actually said, all right, so let's reopen. In Uganda, what?
Nothing was happening. It's interesting because I'm just thinking, children were not in school. Children have not been in school for 2 years.
2 years not in school.
My goodness.
Until next week.
How on earth are they going to be able to catch up?
2 years.
And I'm just checking here.
Yeah.
There was no coordinated online at-home learning.
But forget those things.
To progress the curriculum. There was nothing like that.
Yeah, forget those
things.
You
were at home, you were at home.
It was no education for 2 years. No schooling for 2 years.
2 years. They've lost.
For more than a year, universities and colleges, they just reopened in September.
Shish kebab.
That was it.
Okay.
You joke, my friend.
In Kenya, low business as parents switch back to school, as you were saying. We know that today, if you just go to... it's interesting because on Friday, I thought that there would be, these lines and whatever at the uniform shops. There was nothing. In and out really quickly.
When are schools reopening?
Tomorrow. So boarding schools should be back today. Other schools are opening tomorrow.
Right.
So sure, today probably there will be those ridiculous lines that people.
But it's not a new. It's not a new academic year.
It's not a new concept.
It's not a new academic year. They're going for third term.
They're going for third term.
Okay.
But it's a new year. January. It's a new year. So a lot of times, even when you bought you're used to buying new uniforms at the beginning of the year because children have grown. They've used them
because they're going to a new class anyway. This time the difference is they're not going to a new class.
Not going to a new class. Yeah.
They've just been home for 10 days. And so what they were wearing 10 days ago is what they'll be wearing tomorrow.
They've worn it for a year though.
Yeah. But they are moving into something else.
But you're right. You're actually right. Because what I was going to do was just replace one or two things, right? It was just a replacement that needed because it was whatever. But you're not doing the whole new set like you normally would. So that could attribute to why they were empty, really. You're not buying anything.
So it's not really a new year.
No, it isn't.
It's like a new term.
It's a new calendar year, yes. But it's the last part of the school academic year.
So do you think we're going to see something different when come March, April?
Yes, I think so. Because you have people moving classes.
Because people are now moving classes, moving schools as well.
A lot of school movement will happen. It'll be interesting to see. And then now we are finishing where you would normally finish Class 8 and Form 4 in December. We are finishing in March.
Yeah.
March. Yeah, we're finishing at the end of March. KCPE, KCSE will be written in March this year. So it's going to be a bit different as per how it would normally happen. But look, I think people are going to roll with the punches, you know. However, the way in which it's going to play out is going to play out. What are you going to do? You know? But by the end of this year, 2022, going into 2023 is now when we'll see a normalization of
So now we're going to start seeing things resetting.
Yes. Back to normal. We've done it this far. I think we'll be all right. Most parents who spoke yesterday expressed their pains at meeting education needs amid the high cost of living. Now, this is what the issue will be. Arrears. That there have been school fees arrears for the last couple of months. So we're looking at arrears for a lot of folks from first and second term, going into third term with arrears from 2 previous terms. Characteristic of the COVID era that, you know, folks just didn't have enough to go around. Because of so many things, reductions, loss of business, loss of jobs, etc. So this is what folks are dealing with. That we're going into the last term of the year, at the beginning of the year, and we still are not able to make up. You know, you see that message from school and you have jitters.
Yep, because you know.
You know, you don't have.
You know what it means.
Needed. Yeah.
You know what it means. Some sad news on page 12 of the Standard. A woman is believed to have burned herself and her 2 children on Saturday evening at a house in Kakamega County. Lugari Sub-County Police Commander Bernard Ngungu says they had earlier held a counseling session for Helen Vuyanzi and her husband Thomas Amito. Sorry. The husband is Thomas Amito. This is following a quarrel. According to the police, Vuyanzi had accused the husband of being unfaithful and having an affair with another woman. The police boss says the woman could have bought petrol and hid it in the house before the incident. A neighbor told the Standard that the couple had been embroiled in an ending domestic feuds. They had been quarreling over alleged infidelity, but we didn't expect it to end in tragedy. They had lived together for 12 years. They had 3 children aged between 11 and 2. So there was an 11-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 2-year-old. The 11-year-old eldest son woke up from sleep, made frantic efforts before he alerted villagers. So the 11-year-old woke up, realized the house was on fire, got out, alerted neighbors. By the time the neighbors were responding, the mother and the 2 siblings were dead. The husband was not in the house, though. So this whole story now, you don't even understand. So what happened? Yes, there have been issues. Yes, the woman and the husband had been to a police station and the police had actually now sat them down and told them, okay, guys, what's the issue? Trying to resolve the matter. And then she goes back home and that's it. 12 years in marriage.
And it's done.
You know, this is not
I didn't expect it to end in this tragedy. Of course not.
Yeah,
I did not expect that something like that.
It's not that kind of, you know, relationship that you'd say, you're okay, you know, they had not lived together for long. No, this is 12 years with 3 children.
And then you set them ablaze.
And by the time she's insisting that there's another woman, there's infidelity, and the man is just denying, how much can you hide from the community? If there is another woman, then and everybody else
Somebody
knows.
would have known about it, right?
Yeah, other people would know that there is actually another woman. So these stories that we are starting the year with.
Unfortunately, are we starting the year with it, or is it a continuation of what has been going on?
Yep.
Is this not what we've been seeing for the last year? That this has been going on, and it doesn't look like there's no plug in it, you know, just yet. That the solution in the minds of people who are having whatever domestic challenges is to take someone's life or take your own, and not of your children, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You know? Over the holiday, over this period, KTN did a story and a little bit of an expose again on the state of mental health in the country. And listen to Dr. Frank Jenga, who basically said again, look, if we don't handle this issue, if we don't handle this mental health issue, these things that we are seeing is child's play. We are going to see exacerbated situations. We're handling this thing with kiddie gloves, and it needs to be. By the time I'm thinking about it. I burned my finger. That's a painful thing. This woman has set her children ablaze as well as herself.
She had reached the end.
Yeah.
She has raised the matter. The community knows about it. Her neighbors know about it. Of course, the relatives know about this. The police know now about the issues, her grievances, her complaints. And she feels, no.
This is the only way.
This is the only way. Let us leave. Let me and my children then leave you and your woman. There must be a lot more that was happening.
Yeah.
A lot more.
To go in such a painful way. No.
It's a lot more that was happening. And we sit back here and, like you said, the government is aware of these things happening. The government sets up a task force. Task force says, look, let's give this thing a lot of, push. The government says, we'll deal with this. Yeah, it's a big issue. Yeah, it's a very big issue, this one. Yeah. And that's it. We're not dealing with it. So the president, in his New Year's address, he has said UHC is going to come online this year. Okay? Among very many other things that he has said, this year, they're happening.
Okay.
UHC is happening this year. Health and Science segment of the Standard is looking at that, the cost of healthcare, and what healthcare means to very many people. When they talk about UHC, so pilot, okay, we don't even know what happened in the pilot. Then there is rolling out the UHC. Apart from knowing that there's a bill to amend the NHIF Act that's before the Senate, now, what else do we know about funding UHC? About equipping the healthcare, the health facilities across the country, about preparing the health facilities for something like this, for that movement into UHC. It's just all, there's talk, but there's nothing much really that you can say tangibly that is happening for people to understand. So this is what UHC is all about, because the pilot was you go to a health facility with a card and you walk away without paying a shilling.
Yeah, because of what you've previously
that was the pilot.
Yeah, that was the pilot. The
pilot was that
you
government
nothing.
was paying everything for you. But the UHC that they're rolling out is different.
Absolutely.
They require you to actually contribute to NHIF.
Yes.
Now, have people been made aware of this? There's a story here by the team at the Standard that talks about the UHC train, right? So in Machakos, after the pilot, the Machakos County government still continues putting aside a budget. So the people who are registered for UHC in Machakos are still walking into hospital and walking out without paying, just using their card. Why? Because the Machakos County government has allocated some 4 billion shillings every year to the health docket. So people are still saying that they walk in, walk out. I just had an x-ray, so they quote somebody called Judy Muchoki at Machakos Level 5 Hospital, says, had an x-ray for 6,000 shillings just by presenting my ID card, no payment. Walked in, walked out.
So it works, okay.
So these ones are still enjoying that kind of UHC. But this is not the kind of UHC that's being rolled out by the government.
No, it isn't.
So if you ask Judy Muchoki, maybe she's not even contributing to NHIF. Why? Because why?
Why should I? Because I can walk into a facility right now.
I just need my
and
ID.
I present this ID and I'm fine.
Now tell Judy and our neighbors
to start contributing tomorrow.
That what you needed to do now is to start contributing to NHIF. Out of 10 million people who are registered members of NHIF, only 5 million are active members. That means those are who are contributing. So how are we going to be able to roll out UHC if that has not even been addressed?
It's unfortunate because
if information is not being shared out there.
I think we're putting the cart before the horse here. It's really, really nice. Because look, we've been given the blueprint, we've been told how it's going to work, etc., etc. That's really great. But this is when the work needs to be put in. If NHIF is the donkey upon whose shoulders this UHC is supposed to ride, then there's so many things within NHIF that need to be sorted out.
Yep.
Because it is very clear, UHC then cannot operate without NHIF. And we've heard so many times Doctor has told us here, the CEO has told us here right now that there's so many things that need to work out. 5 million people are dormant members of NHIF.
Yeah.
How do you expect to get a fund rolling in order to then push a universal healthcare system, and the fund itself is not operational as its optimum, as where it should be? Do we even know that the adequate requisite infrastructure is available around the country?
Particularly
not
that.
Nairobi. Around
Around
the
the
country.
country.
That it doesn't matter where you are. If you're in Kwale, if you're in Turkana, if you're in Meru, that you will be able to go and get your dialysis. You don't have to come to Nairobi.
You see, that's where the bigger issue here as well is. If you ask the president, just simply because there's a bill before the Senate, NHIF is going to roll out this year. However, have you addressed all these other issues? Prescription of a sick referral system is what we're talking about. You go to any health facility today, okay, from whatever level, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a county, and you're likely to be told to go and buy medicine outside.
Yes.
To go and do some tests outside.
Or come with your own gloves. And
Come with your own
catheter.
gloves. If those issues have not been sorted, just simple supply chain issues.
Eric, water and electricity, which are fundamental for the processes of healthcare. If those don't exist, for example, in a medical facility, whether it is a dispensary, whether it is a clinic, whether it is a B, C, D, it does. If those things are not there,
It's all a pipe dream. K&H. So I have a friend who has a son who's going through cancer treatment at K&H. All right. This is a teenager in a public school. Now, NHIF has a cover called EduAfia. EduAfia is enhanced. If you are a student in a public school in this country, you have 100% cover from NHIF. Walk in, walk out. All right. So this boy walks in for the second session of chemotherapy last week. K&H. You know what he's told? The father is told now, yeah, he's due for this, but we don't have the drugs that are required for the chemotherapy.
Oh, for crying out
So we
loud.
need you to go and buy this medicine. Where am I going to buy? Just go and look. We don't know where. Why? Because K&H does not have them. Why? Because supply chain issues. Somebody was supposed to have delivered. They did not deliver, so we don't have the drugs here. Now, this is drugs worth 10,000 shillings. You've just been told, and you're reporting for the second session of
And
chemotherapy.
it's supposedly covered.
Yeah. And you're told now, go and look for 10,000 shillings. Go and look for medicine, wherever you're going to get these drugs. Ends up buying drugs somewhere to bring back to the hospital. This is the Kenyatta National Hospital we're talking about. The largest hospital in East Africa. You tell me then, if somebody is going to another level 5 in some county.
In Siaya County,
Yeah.
they're going to be able to get what they need.
Yeah. And the president tells us that UHC is going to be rolled out this year. This president is either a deliberate liar or he is completely bought into the lies that he's given.
These people under him are giving him.
Yeah. That means he's totally gullible.
Because
And I
we can
believe the
see.
former, I think.
We can see that it
Yeah.
can't work, man.
Cannot really work.
It cannot work.
Keep it here for more conversations. So, how much are you paying for your power bill? That's a conversation we're having in the next hour. Good morning. It's 7 a.m.
Spice up your life.
The Spice FM Newswire is brought to you by InDriver. Choose your preferred driver, mode of transport, and negotiate your fare to your destination for a safe, comfortable, and affordable trip only with InDriver.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. President Uhuru Kenyatta led Kenyans in mourning former head of public service Dr. Richard Leakey. In a statement, President Kenyatta said Dr. Leakey, a globally renowned Kenyan paleoanthropologist and conservationist, has over the years served our country with distinction in several public services. Dr. Leakey is celebrated for his prominent role in Kenya's vibrant civil society, where he founded and successfully ran a number of institutions, among them the conservation organization Wildlife Direct. This as the country's top leaders united in mourning Kenya's first post-independence Attorney General Charles Muga Ndu Njonjo. In a statement, President Uhuru Kenyatta, who announced the death of Charles Njonjo, described him as not only a national hero but an icon of Kenya's progress through the years. Njonjo was the only surviving member of Kenya's independence cabinet. He served as Kenya's Attorney General between 1963 and 1979 and later as Constitutional Affairs Minister between 1980 and 1983. It's back to school as students begin making their way back for the 2021 third term after a short holiday. Education CS Professor George Magoha rejected teachers' proposal to have the exam date be moved forward to give them the opportunity to complete the syllabus, saying the exams will be held as planned. The third term of the 2022 academic year will be 9 weeks before the national examinations for KCPE and KCSE candidates. KCPE exams will run for 4 days from the 7th to the 10th of March, while KCSE examinations are expected to take 3 weeks from March 11th to April 3rd, while the marking exercise is also expected to take 3 weeks from April 4th to April 22nd. The Teacher Service Commission CEO Nancy Macharia has warned teachers against aiding students to cheat in the upcoming national examinations. The TSC boss noted that as schools resume for the third term, teachers ought to ensure that students prepare adequately for the national exams. She recounted that in the past exams, a number of teachers were caught in exam irregularities, which led to tough measures being taken against them. Macharia also challenged head teachers to try and get solutions to exam phobia, which she termed as one of the causes of school unrest in the past month that saw over 300 school dormitories burnt. The National Transport and Safety Authority has launched an investigation into an accident that killed 8 people in the Musemba area on Webuye Eldoret Road. The accident involved a 14-seater matatu belonging to the 2NK Sacco and a trailer. In a statement, the authority said investigators have already been sent to the scene of accident before action is taken against the 2NK Sacco. The matatu was heading to Nairobi from Bungoma when it hit the lorry from behind at Musembe. Residents of the area are now calling on the Ministry of Transport to ensure it erects bumps on the road, as there has been an increase in accidents in the area. Now, some 293 girls who were rescued from female genital mutilation in the past 1 month in the Kuria region of Migori County have been reunited with their families after the cut period ended on December 28th. The girls, who were taking refuge at Nyangonge and Sakuri rescue camps, were released after the government and the anti-crusaders established that they are now safe. Mabera Sub-County Children Officer Janet Robbie said the girls had run away from their homes in fear of the cut. Robbie said the parents were sensitized on FGM before being allowed to pick up their daughters from the rescue camps. Now, Sudan's Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok has resigned after another day of mass protests rocked the capital, Khartoum. Thousands marched against a recent deal he had done to share power with the army, who staged a coup in October, chanting power to the people. Protesters called for a return to full civilian rule, but military forces staged another violent crackdown, leaving 2 people dead. Hamdok's decision to quit leaves the army in full control of government. It is another blow to Sudan's fragile attempts at a transition to democratic rule after a popular uprising led to the overthrow of Sudan's long-term authoritarian president Omar al-Bashir in 2019. And across the borders, and the United States has cut Ethiopia, Mali and Guinea from access to a duty-free trade program, following through on President Joe Biden's threats to do so over alleged human rights violations and recent coup. Biden said in November that Ethiopia would be cut off from the duty-free trading regime provided under the U.S. Africa Growth and Opportunity Act (AGOA) due to the alleged human rights violations in the Tigray region, while Mali and Guinea were targeted due to recent coup. The suspension of benefits threatens Ethiopia's textile industry, which supplies global fashion brands and the country's nascent hopes of becoming a light manufacturing hub. It also piles more pressure on an economy reeling from the conflict, the coronavirus, and the high inflation. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto.
The SpiceFM Newswire is brought to you by InDriver. Download the InDriver app from the App Store or Google Play Store to enjoy a safe, comfortable, and affordable ride around Nairobi.
Spice FM.
A little bit of inbound
Nakuru.
traffic on Mombasa Road this morning, and we're looking at that right around the Maritime going out into the city. North Airport Road is already clogging up, and you're getting out onto Outer Ring today. Just a little bit of that, not too painful, especially not right now. Lunga Lunga is also building up. Jogo Road then a lot heavier right around the Makadara train station, going out then towards Landis Road, which picks up a bit then going towards Kamkunji. We're also seeing some action now building up on Langata Road, but not too much. Still bearable, at least for now. Uhuru Highway looking pretty good, all the way from the Nyeri Stadium roundabout out towards the Haile Selassie Junction there, and then out towards Westlands. That seems to be flowing smoothly, not too much of an issue. Thika Road has been doing exceptionally well this morning, even a few minutes after 7 o'clock. Not too much. A little bit of a hiccup around the drive-in, but that doesn't get too bad. Muranga Road also taking a bit of a hit, and a little bit of traffic here and there on Juja Road. So again, looks like folks are not yet back into the city, but still be careful, guys, as we're going through. We're seeing a little bit of a build-up also on Muthui Road today, getting out into the city. Let's update each other about what's going on in your neck of the woods, shall we? Spice FMKE on Twitter, text 40127.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This
Indeed
is
it
the
is.
Situation
Happy New
Room.
Year, wherever you're tuned in this morning. It's 8 minutes after 7. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. On this third day of January 2022, we are back and the Situation Room is live. And we can see very many people are still coming in and saying, hello. Vincent Nguru says, Pamoja. Yegon says, Happy New Year, everybody. Happy birthday to me. Oh, happy birthday, Yegon. The first show of the year, first day of another year to me. Tuned in from Nandi. Very happy birthday to you, Yegon. And we wish you all the best this new year. Adam Zakaria says, Happy New Year to the Situation Room. Tuned in from Adam Kumasi in Ghana. Karibu sana. Moses Gashari, yes, we can see you. Philip Kiplimo also tuned in. Happy New Year. Everybody, Happy New Year and welcome to the show today. Somali proverb today. Siti Muga is away today, taking an extra day to just get into the line for the new year. Okay? So the day's proverb today is a Somali proverb. The teeth and the tongue are close neighbors, and yet they sometimes bite each other. The teeth and the tongue are close neighbors. They live in the same place called mouth. And yet they sometimes bite each other.
Yeah. Because you're so close to each other.
So actually the proverb should be,
irritated.
and so they sometimes bite each other.
And so.
Yes. The teeth and the tongue are close neighbors. So therefore, they will often bite each other because of the proximity of where they live. Our guest this hour is a man whom we've hosted before on the show, and we're beginning this conversation with him because it is relevant. Isaac Ndereba is a power bills analyst. He's from the Electricity Consumer Society of Kenya. And just before I introduce Isaac, let me read what the president told us on Jamhuri Day last year. He said, I will conclude my address by keeping a promise that I made. On the 20th of October, I directed the Ministry of Energy to fast-track the implementation of the recommendations of the Presidential Task Force on Power Purchase Agreements. I am pleased to note that the pathway to reduce the cost of electricity by over 30% is on course. In honor of this pledge to the nation and in response to the concerns over the high cost of electricity raised by both individual consumers and enterprises, I am pleased to announce that the nation that the reduction of the cost of electricity will be implemented in 2 tranches of 15% each, with the first 15% achieved through initial actions focusing on system and commercial losses to be reflected in the December bills, and a further 15% reduction in the first quarter of 2022. So it was to come in 2 tranches.
Yes.
First one by the end of December, 15%, and this would be occasioned by seeing addressing of the losses, system losses and commercial losses. And then now we look at the power purchase agreements and everything else, and by March, the next 15% reduction
So
comes
you'll be getting essentially 30% reduction is what you would be seeing, according to what the president said, by the end of March this year.
Yes.
Right? And I mean, so essentially what we are saying is, for prepaid users, and then I guess we can go into that more, if you were spending 1,000 shillings, you would be able to get many more units for the 1,000 shillings, or you would then be able to spend less than 1,000 shillings for the same amount that you would previously have bought.
Yep.
So at the end of the day, you're getting more token for the shillings spent, or if you're only spending a certain amount, that you would be sure that you would get more than you would normally spend. So if you would normally spend 500 shillings on buying your tokens, that you can then be assured that you will get a little bit more for that amount.
That 500 will take you longer.
Exactly. It'll take you longer.
Yeah.
Or that if you spend a little bit more in terms of 1,000 shillings, you get many more tokens. Yes.
Dereba.
Indeed, I think we have started with the wrong statement. That it is 30% that was to be reduced. It was 33%.
That's true.
Now, I don't know what I think the president, again, decided to say that it is going to be 30%.
He rounded it off.
TJ,
He said
he should have rounded it off.
He said over. He said
Yes.
his statement, to be fair to him,
Yes.
over 30%. In October, he said 33.
Yes.
In December, he said over 30%.
Okay.
Okay. But then he only talked about 15.
Right.
Yes.
2 tranches of 15.
That is why I don't want us
He
to
should have
be.
said 18 and then 15, or he would have said 15 and then 18, right?
Now, I think it's good to make it straight that the task force had directed that from the time it gave us this report, which I have here, they had talked of that they are going to reduce every month. We were expecting some reduction in October, in November, and in December. Now, for the president to come during the holiday to say that it is on course, it was not on course to start with. Because nothing had been reduced. Even now, I've just tried to buy one, and it is the same. It is the same because
it is the same as what?
It is the same as last year, and in fact even more. First of all, let me say that we have a line that is not working from Rick Tukana, and as a result, we are doing more thermal generation. So even the cost of fuel this month was fuel charge was 20. In fact, they have said, it is around 4%, 4 shillings. Now, that by itself tells you that we are not even likely to get a reduction, because they will start complaining that, now we have a problem. In fact, we are now doing load shedding of about 250 250 megawatt in the country. As in, mpaka tujipange so that we can find a way in which we can offload 250 from the consumption. Ndio sasa watu wengine wapate stima. Now, that being the first challenge, of which in fact we don't want to listen to them. But when the task force were mandated to do one thing, to look at the PPAs, and then the PPAs were averaging at 8.2 shillings per kilowatt hour. And they wanted it to be brought to around 5.4 it like engine. The maximum that you would have gotten from that reduction was 12%. 12. Now, for them to come and tell the president you can reduce 33%, hiyo nilijua hiyo, it cannot work. The only way it can work is if the president says we have removed the fuel cost can be brought to around 2 shillings. And then your PPA, if they do something, then they bring it to around an average of 5 shillings. But the major component has to be VAT. If we need to get 13% of the reduction,
then
VAT has to
VAT
go.
in power has got to go.
But Isaac, why would these ladies and gentlemen come together and tell the president that we can actually do something like this? If you here, me here, can sit and say it is clearly impossible for this thing to happen, if you can explain it in the manner in which you explained it right now and said absolutely impossible for this thing to happen, why would they come together and then present it to the president in a way that would suggest that it was possible to have a 33% reduction on power in their homes? Why would they do that? Logically speaking, why would you go present a case which is impossible to do? Why?
In fact, I think that is also something that confused me, because John Ngumi, who was the chairman, is a person that would not imagine he could not have informed very well. But let me tell you the logics, or just enough of what you can decide for yourself. That now, consumption takes 12.81%. I mean, takes around 50.44. But then, let us imagine, watoe pesa from 8.2 to 5 shilling, they would have managed to reduce by 12.81. If they were talking about PPA only. And remember those PPAs, some of them wale walikuwa nasema sijui Triumph Power is charging 176. No, that was not right, because some of them is standing charge, and if you generate like 2 units, you have to divide by the standing charge. That might look expensive, but it wasn't. So that was misinformed. But let me say, if they were just looking at the PPAs and they say we don't want anybody else other than KenGen alone
supplying power to
Kenya
Power.
Supplying power. They say we have tumekuja hapa, President, we have come, decided we don't want any private producer here. The maximum they would have reduced is 12.81. Now, even if they reduce everything else and they don't touch on the VAT, the maximum they could reduce is 24 shillings. So I don't understand where was 33 coming from.
Let's start from the very top.
Yes.
Okay. So you are saying you have studied the report of the presidential task force.
Yes.
You even presented some views to the presidential task force during its sittings.
Yes.
So take us through the report. What were the main issues that they identified as the cause for high power bills in the country?
Now,
in the task force report.
First of all, they picked too many things that were not part of what they were supposed to check. If they would have followed just the people. You saw the report was talking about presidential task force on the review of power purchase agreement.
Yes.
Now, the report also mentions about EPRA, it mentions about nuclear. You see, there are so many things it has mentioned about, which is quite good because it has captured the whole of the Kenya the power.
They decided
in
to
Kenya.
Understand the entire
industry.
So just take us again.
Yeah.
Tell us. So what did the task force identify as the main causes of huge power bills in the country?
It is what they highlighted mostly is that we were buying power expensively from some of the independent power producers.
Some IPPs were charging exorbitant, overcharging.
Yes.
Okay, that's one.
Yeah.
Second?
The other one is that Kenya Power had some losses which they could manage, and they were imposing those losses to the citizens.
What does that mean?
Now, first of all, I'm an engineer, and I would say that I would defend Kenya Power just a little.
Explain, first of all, before you defend.
Now, what happens is that during there are things called technical and some losses along the transmission. Zingine zimeibiwa, some people are just connecting without meters.
Okay.
So they were saying part of that would, if reduced, it would transform into that saving.
That would be a
it
saving.
would go to the citizens. We have saved.
Okay.
The other one they were saying is that Kenya Power themselves, in the system, in how they are managing their procurement and all that, they said there is something that could be saved. There is a lot of corruption inside there and all that. And even now in Kenya Power, there is nobody who is there for a long time. There has been some suspension of some general managers and some other acting managers who are in. Even remember that even the MD is also acting. So there is nobody who is where they are supposed to be in Kenya Power because of this mvutano, push, pull. But I can tell you, that was not the business of the task force. Because that was Kenya Power's business on how they are managing. And if they are making a loss of...
But does it make sense?
It makes sense.
Does it make sense to say that because of the kind of system inefficiencies you have within Kenya Power,
yes,
it leads to power being expensive.
Yes.
It makes sense?
It makes sense.
And it also makes sense to say, because of those losses, because of people who have illegal power connections,
Yes.
because of such kind of stuff,
Yes.
it leads to power being expensive. It makes sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Does it also make sense to say that some IPPs are overcharging?
It makes sense.
Okay.
Yes.
So what they've found as the main causes makes sense even to you.
It makes sense.
Higher. The recommendations then?
The few recommendations that he made, actually they made a lot of them, and they even attached a date, some of which you may be surprised that nobody is keeping track.
Okay.
For example, an interesting one, in 2019 March, there was a new Energy Act that introduced Nuclear Power Agency. Now that agency, the task force came and said it is not important. And by July 2022, it should be disbanded. Now, look at that.
For that sole reason that it was not important.
It wasn't important. In any case, some countries are leaving nuclear power.
Yeah.
We don't think we have shortage in power for us to start looking at other. We haven't even exhausted geothermal and wind for us to start thinking of nuclear.
Yes.
So now, even the functions of that agency were not to generate or anything. It's to study, to do training, to look at what can be. In fact, it's funny. It was on page 63 of this report. It reads, if I can read for you, Nuclear Power Agency, Nuclear Power and Energy Agency, NUPEA. In the Energy Act 2019, NUPEA is mandated to do this, promotion and implementation of Kenya's nuclear power program, undertake research and development for the nuclear form of energy, awareness, creation and disseminate information on the efficient use of energy and its conservation, and then training and development in the field of energy and petroleum, research and technology development, train and upgrade human resource capacity in energy sector, and to promote local production of energy technologies. There's no way to say
So it's not about nuclear.
It's not about nuclear.
Looking at
so
how,
you see
how
such
to
an agency. Now, they say it should be disbanded by July 22. And I really hope that it will not be political, because, you know, some sons of some senior people in government may say, sasa mnataka huyu aende wapi. I really hope that will not happen. But I am saying there are a lot of contradictions that this task force found, and it was very important to be brought. Like now, they also said EPRA should not be commanded by anybody, should not get direction from Ministry of Energy. It is an authority. It is actually the regulator. And so they should not go asking. So in fact, Mr. Kipto, who is now the Director General, should be a very powerful person in this energy sector. But you will still find some people from the ministry wanamwambia namna hii. In fact, he should be stronger than the Minister for Energy.
Yeah.
But now, you might find that he will keep on asking, what do we do here?
So EPRA basically does not have the power that it should have.
It was given the power by the Energy Act. It has been given power by this report. And I don't know who else they should be waiting for. They shouldn't wait for anybody else to say, ati sisi tunagoja tuambiwe what to do. I mean, EPRA has enough power to even decide. And let me just mention one thing that people may not be keeping track. We were told that the price was to be reduced from 24 shillings to 16 shillings. Now, EPRA should have said, we have gazetted that power is going to be 16 shillings for domestic users. Sasa hiyo ingine ni maneno ya Kenya Power to know what to do. But now I think the president was also clever to know that nyinyi mumesema tutareduce hii. Instead of us bringing someone else aseme hii hatuwezekani, just
you go and implement that same report.
Go and implement. He has not been able. Now you can see alikuwa anataka kurushia mwingine, and then it becomes very complicated for everybody. So now he should call Gumi and ask him, you and your team, you develop this report, na mukasema this is going to be realistic. Why is it not realistic? And I said, he should not even try anything. If VAT is going to be the same 13% of the bill, then even if they are given power for free by Kenyan,
did the task force recommend reduction of VAT?
No.
Or
in fact, they were not specific.
Tax?
They were not even any specific on what needs to be reduced. They just said 33%. So now, they were expecting that if you get off, if you remove all the IPPs, and I have said, even if you remove all of them, the maximum you could have saved would have been 12%. So they were not specific on what needs to be done.
What needs to be done.
They were not.
If that 12% that you're talking about, I mean, all the math has been done, all the formulas been calculated, and you're saying the absolute best in terms of a reduction for everybody across the country would have been 12.1%.
12.1%.
You can't go beyond, even if you stretch it, you can't go beyond. So I go back to my question, Isaac. Why give 33% as the announcement if it is clear from all the formula and all the workings, all of these things taken into consideration? Why give 33%? It seems like a huge jump for me. 21. That's the number that we're looking at. 21.
12.
But no.
Yeah.
I'm saying
the
we've
difference.
left out the difference is 21%.
Yes, exactly.
That's a huge gap. Why give that if it is absolutely not possible and people can figure it out by applying a simple formula?
In fact, that's why we actually we submitted our comments, and we were also surprised that they said this 33%. And when even last time I came here, I said I don't think it's going to be possible.
Okay.
Very many people have come to my office to ask me that. Why do you keep on saying that this is not possible? And we do the same maths. And I say, assume you've been given power for free. Give Kenya Power free power. Tell them to sell. What is the maximum that you can get from there?
What would it take to get to that 33%?
Now,
what do we have to look at and say, snippet here?
Now,
what would we do to get to 33?
That's a very good question, because I may be told that now Ngomi has not managed to do his job.
You
Can
come
you
and do
assist?
it.
I will do this because I had even structured. Now, I will come and say, from 8.2 average, that is what Kenya Power was buying on average. From 8.2, I say, let me start with what John Ngomi said. I don't want any IPP other than KenGen. Of course, it's not practically possible, but I would say that because I will say I'm following a report.
Yes.
And then the cost of power would come from, in fact, even KenGen was supplying at 5.48, but because there is some capacity charge and all that, I would say we also remove the capacity charge. The one for paying them to be on standby, I would remove that. And then bring from 5.48 to 5 shillings. That way, I would save 3.2 shillings, which is 12.81%. Then I would come and say the fuel cost is going to be from 3.88, I will bring it to 2.5.
Why?
Because right now, we are surviving on thermos. Because of non-generation on some areas. So I wouldn't scrap them off. I would also consider that some of the contracts are very rigid. So I would maintain them a bit at 2.5. I would save 5.52% by doing that. And then I would come and say Forex is not a business that we need to care about. Forex was brought about by the IPPs which use the dollar to do their contract. So I would say, and of course even the task force said, that we don't need to sign any contract on dollar, on foreign currency. So that would come to zero. I would save 3.04%. And then inflation, I would say, I would not try to, I would just get inflation off the Kenyans. But that would only save 1.48 shillings. And then I would leave WARMA, that is Water Resource Management Authority, and EPRA. The year cost is very minimal. And then I would say rural electrification program, it is now 0.79 Kenya shillings per kilowatt hour. I would bring that to 0.5. I would get a 1.16 saving. Now, when I do that, all that would come to 24%. Having done all that, so I will now come to VAT and I say, I have 13% that I don't know what to do. So I would say, let me offload this taxation from the citizens. And if you do a total of what I have said, you would get 37.35%.
So how do you know they're not doing this, Isaac?
Sorry?
How do you know that this is not their plan?
It's not, because I think the president would have said, first of all, I said the major component of this reduction has to be VAT. And I don't think it is them to do that, because they are busy in Kenya Power trying to say, hey, who bought this transformer? That's not about VAT. VAT has to come from the president and say, mimi nimetoa tax ya stima, 13%. Now, that 13%, hiyo ingine, wacha watafute where we are going to get. Until they say that 13% VAT is off. Even if we reduce it,
all else are lies.
All those others, even if you reduce to almost zero,
would
it's
not
24.
Be significant in terms of a dent in this number.
Yeah.
Let's take a break. It's 7:30. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Isaac Nereva is with us in the studio. He is a power bills analyst. He's from the Electricity Consumer Society of Kenya. So it's the 3rd of January, and we should be having some 15% reduction in the power bills. Nyangano says the president gave the directive, but I just received my December bill, which increased by 1 shilling in November. The cost per kilowatt hour was 18 shillings, but in December, I was charged 19 shillings per kilowatt hour.
Merry Christmas.
It should have gone down. There's a problem there, Nyangano. Just call Kenya Power, talk to them. That's what we are discussing. Is it coming to fruition, the 15% that should have gone into a reduction this year? Well, that's what we're discussing this morning. Good morning. Let's take a break. We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
What makes a man?
I had an advertising job that was toxic. It was difficult. I'm not saying the people were toxic. I don't think anyone is inherently toxic.
Don't ever let someone's perception of you become your reality.
How do we navigate through career, family, and life?
I was an average kid. I wasn't a poor student.
Examining what defines a man.
We derive our identity as men based on external factors, on things that people can be able to see.
A space for men to open their experiences and more. Starting Thursday, 18th November on the Standard Digital YouTube and Facebook page. Hosted by Eric Latiff.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM.
Cloudy conditions here and there in Nairobi, highs of 26 and lows of 16 today. It's sunny at 14 in Nakuru, highs of 28 and lows of 13. Partly sunny conditions at 14 in Nyeri, highs of 25 and lows of 11. It's sunny in Eldoret at 12, highs of 26 and lows of 11. And we're looking at partly sunny conditions in Mombasa at 26, highs of 33 and lows of 25. Malindi is sunny at 28, highs of 31 and lows of 26. We're looking at sunny conditions at 21 in Kisumu, highs of 29 and lows of 19. While in Kakamega, it's mostly sunny at 18 with highs of 30 and lows of 15. All right, in Dar es Salaam this morning, it's sunny at 28, highs of 32 and lows of 27, while Kampala is partly sunny at 20 with highs of 27 and lows of 19. It's mostly clear in Lagos at 27, highs of 33 and lows of 25, and it's a rainy morning in Kinshasa at 25. We'll see highs of 29 and lows of 23. Going towards North Airport Road, coming off Mombasa Road this morning is actually quite slow. We're seeing some build up right through to Cabanas out towards Marzaima. And then before that, over on to the overpass, then heading towards Embakasi. But then it's not too bad on Outer Ring today. Getting into the city is not going to be an issue. The Southern Bypass also looking pretty good. We're not having a bad traffic morning. That's a good thing. We're looking at congested city centre coming in from Landis, then towards Kamkunji at the roundabout, and then onto Haile Selassie Avenue today. That seems quite tight. It's also pretty tight on Jogo Road, right around the train station. Coming off of Thika Superhighway, we haven't seen traffic there this morning. A great movement there. Just a little bit right around Pangani at the underpass and then out towards the city. That's where you see the most of it this morning. Hopefully we can keep it that way. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Tell us what it looks like in your neck of the woods, just in case you run into something, or a good route that folks can use. Text as well on 40127.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings.
26 minutes to 8, Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room on Spice FM around the country, and Spice FM KE on YouTube, on Facebook as well. Isaac Ndereba, Power Bills analyst and expert, is with us in the studio. So the president's directive, and he called it a promise, and he said, in keeping with his promise, 15% power bills were going to be dropping by 15% by the end of December, and then a further 15% by March. And Ndereba is here, he's telling us that's impossible. In fact, what we are asking you is, have you noticed a drop in your power bills this month, the month of December. Have you noticed a drop in your power bills? If you buy tokens this today, are they 15% cheaper than they were when you bought in December? So that's the question that we are asking. Ndereba, so you're saying it is virtually impossible if you were given the job, unless they touch VAT, it's highly improbable that you can actually achieve the 33% reduction in power bills that was recommended by the task force. And Ndu was asking you, so why would this task force that comprises people who are experts in various fields come together? They've studied the power sector, they've tried to understand the billing, and then they've written a report and they have recommended and told the president it's actually possible to reduce. And you're saying it's impossible to reduce. First of all, who are the members of this task force? I mean, you had John Gomi. He is a renowned investment banker. We had tax experts here. We had people who have worked in the energy sector. These are people who know what they were talking about.
In fact, they were big names, actually. John Gomi and Aaron Ringera, all of them were there. And even when we were presenting our comments, we had, there's this lawyer, it's called Okia Omotata. He had some serious findings. But the team even, it includes Isaac Kiva, Dr. John Muthui from EPRA and all those people. And so there were 16. And there were 16. We had several doctors, we had several engineers there. In fact, engineers were more. But then...
and these are engineers?
Those are engineers who had worked in the sector.
In the sector. They have experience in the energy sector.
Yes.
They understand when they say billing, when they say system losses, they know what they're talking about.
Yes.
When they say power purchase agreements, they know what they're talking about.
Yes.
They wrote a report that recommends 33% reduction if certain things are done.
Yes.
So why can't you believe them?
I can't believe them. Because number one, I have told you that first of all, they would have said, this is the cost of power and this is the fuel cost. If fuel charge, we want it to be brought from here to here.
Right.
Then from here to here. And that is what I'm saying. If they would have done that,
and
they would
have a roadmap of what needs to be done to see the 33%
on the cost.
reduction.
In fact, they had a good roadmap. They even had dates that by this time, July 2022, you should disband this, by this, and they are saying by who and by when.
Okay.
But not on the cost that in PPAs, they should reduce the year's cost from this to this, and that is where we are getting a shilling. This is the tax in Forex. We should reduce from here to here. They didn't do that.
Okay. But take us through some of the things that they said with timelines.
There were many. Let me tell you some.
Because there's disband the nuclear energy by June 2022.
Because it was unimportant.
Let me tell you one. Appointment of the system operator. It was EPRA to implement the recommendations by 30th November. We are not sure whether that has been done.
Okay.
Of course, expect many has not been done because the power prices have not come down. So if these things would have been done, we would have expected. So disband, of course, I want to tell you some that would have been done. Transmission infrastructure tariff. The authority is EPRA, should unbundle transmission and distribution tariff for transparency in the supply of electricity and ensure cost recovery in line with the principle of prudently incurred cost.
Okay.
They should have done that by 31st October 2021.
What does that mean? Through
a legal notice. They were supposed to come and say, these are the amount of losses we are getting. And then waweke kwa bill. Waseme, these are as a result of the losses.
So this is for transmission?
Yes.
And this is for distribution.
And this is for the purchase ya Kenya Power na nunua. They should structure it as per that. So that when they are saying, and that is why I unburdened myself. And I said, if this is the bill, and we are saying that you want to attack PPAs, power purchase agreement, the maximum reduction you can recommend, the maximum is going to be 12.81%.
And that is
by getting rid ukisikia Triumph Power or Power, all those guys, other than Kenyan alone.
Lake Turkana, Wind Power, all of them.
Get rid of them. You will bring your cost from an average of 8.2 to 5.48, but then do some few adjustments on the remaining, so that I talk a 5.48 to 5.
Okay.
that would have brought to 12.81. 33 inatoka wapi?
Isaac, something presents itself to me here.
Yes.
Is that all right? So if you can figure it out, if you can just look at the report that they came up with and you say, okay, hold on. Maybe, you're an expert on this, so you can see these numbers and it doesn't make sense.
Yes.
And probably if somebody else who was not an expert just was able to interrogate those numbers just a little bit, it wouldn't make sense to them either. Right? You could actually look through the formula and say, hold on a minute, a little bit of simple math here, and we can figure out that this is not working, right?
Yeah.
Now, if anybody can figure that out, I'm still belaboring this point. If anybody can figure it out.
Yes.
But then here we are, that we're making promises to Kenyans on something that is so delicate that touches on everything else that they must do. Because you touch power, you touch food, you touch
employment.
Everything that they have to do. Employment, people have to use power to basically run their businesses, run their homes, run water, etc. It touches everything that you have to do. And so you're making a public statement on something of this nature, which what you're saying right now, Isaac, is that it's not true. That's essentially what you're saying.
Yeah.
That these statements that were made to Kenyans in October last year and then pronounced again in December on Jamhuri Day, essentially is not true. That Kenyans are being hoodwinked.
It is, in fact, let me tell you, there is someone who has said that he used to buy at, I think he was buying at 17 point something.
18
Today
shillings
it is 18.
in December.
Today is 18.79. I've just bought to confirm. You know, sometimes they may decide to say, dereva ameenda pale, wacha tumuonyeshe hajui. I have decided to buy, just to confirm.
So you've bought
I have
power
bought. I just bought for 100 shillings. And at 100, I got 5.29 units. That is for
5.29 units for 100 shillings.
Yeah, but I will explain. It's because the category I am in, for that particular, is a small house.
For the particular
on the
meter.
side,
Yeah.
Sasa here is the one that was being charged 17 point. It was being charged 17.69 when the rest were being charged at 24 point.
Okay.
So it has increased by a shilling. So expect ile ingine ilitoka from 24 to 25. Now, the biggest challenge and the question we need to ask ourselves, I have bought. So that means this is January. And I know in December people bought. So following the president's directive that we should get a reduction of 15%, when are we going to get this 15% refund? On what we have already bought? Because kama alisema, otherwise, if we are not being refunded, we have paid.
You have already paid.
Yes, so we shouldn't be refunded if it had not been reduced. So are we saying that the president says something, na hakuna mtu anafuata, or he knows that this is a political statement? And then I said, you were asking something, Ndu, that if you go through the report and the maths, I'll tell you this report is very informative, only for one thing. It does not capture figures that would lead to this figure. So now, it will tell you, we realize that the demand was this, sometimes we are going to this, we realize that the generation was this, but the figures of saying it could have been this. And this is what needs to be. If you look at the losses, you are going to reduce, and I said losses have got some allowed benchmarks. You can't come to zero. So for them to say, Kenya Power is losing 24% on transmission losses, if that is brought to zero, it needs to now reduce the power cost to this. You know, it is not possible. And I said they are engineers. So they should have said the maximum you can get from there.
From addressing system losses.
Is 9%. And that cannot be a 3 months job. Because transmission is infrastructure which has taken time. Some of them is aging. Other issues are power factor problems and all that.
Old
meters. So you can't promise in 1 month or 4 months or 1 year that the losses can be reduced.
Realistically, if we were to look at, because this 15% that we are looking at for today should have come from addressing system losses. Okay? That's what the president told us.
Yeah, that is what the president
Realistically,
said. Yes.
If we were to actually look at KPLC and KPLC addressing its system issues, how long should it take for us to see to even realize that 9% that you're saying? The most probable number that we can get is 9% reduction in system losses. How long would it take for us to get to achieve that?
If I would be the MD for Kenya Power, I would give 5 years.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
To remove people who are
not
illegally connections.
You see, you are removing, and some of them are joining. But that is not, the losses is not just about theft. I said it is inclusive of the drops, the transmission. Some will need some complete redesign. Now, it has taken us, I think, almost 10 years to connect people from 25% to 75%.
Yep.
Now, you are looking at going through all those connections again. It wouldn't be 1 year.
Okay.
Yes.
So I've also bought 100 shillings
Yes.
worth of power.
Yes.
Right?
You've gotten
and
four.
I've gotten 100 shillings gives me 3.86 units as
Now-
compared to your 5.2 for the little house, right?
So you're a different power consumer.
Yes,
Yeah.
because you are consuming more than 100 kilowatt hours per month.
Right.
For this small house, is consuming less than 100 kilowatt hours. And those are the people we call domestic lifeline.
Okay.
You are domestic ordinary.
So
You are
domestic
among-
lifeline
Yes.
is sort of also what the government considers as social.
Yes, it's for the last mile connectivity, how watu wadogo.
Watu wadogo.
Yes.
Okay.
And those are the ones who are told they will be paying 12 shillings. 12. From 17, 16, they were supposed to pay 12.
So my question is,
Yes.
with this reduction, how much should I be getting with what this announcement is?
Yes.
With 100, I've gotten 3.86.
3.86.
With this, how much should I be getting for 100 shillings?
As a domestic
Now, what did you call me? Domestic ordinary.
You are domestic ordinary.
Okay.
You are the most, it's a group of the highest paying class. And you see that is the biggest population because I think they make around almost 80%.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for the 100 shillings that I spent and get 3.86,
Yes.
how much should I be getting if we're looking at this 33% reduction?
33%.
How much should I be getting for 100 shillings?
Okay. Then you'll be charged around 16.
For the same 100 shillings?
6.25 units.
So I should get 6.2. So it should be, okay, a little bit more than that.
Not a little bit more.
That is double.
Double.
It's double.
It's double the units.
Yes, that is what should be getting. And that is why we were happy when he announced that. But I'm telling you, the ordinary citizens, while wanalipa, I think, let me say, you are among the domestic ordinary constitute 35.68%, but they contribute 55% of the Kenya
Of
power.
KPLs.
So domestic ordinary for that small house, they are only contributing 9.17 to the Kenya power, but they are, the total number is 60% of the Kenyan
So the
population.
majority is
the majority are
domestic
enjoying,
what?
but you see the people who pay tax, who drive the economy, are the ones who are highly taxed. And you remember you're also paying VAT.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think this is going to happen? Because I'm at pains.
It's not.
I'm at pains. I mean, sure, it would not be the first thing that was said publicly and that has not come to pass. But again, it's such an emotive issue. It's almost as emotive as land in this country when you're talking about power and the cost of it and then what it's able to run. Do you see that it would not happen? Because I really would, it would be very difficult for me to swallow that on several occasions in the very recent past, the president has made these announcements and that people were waiting with bated breath to actually see the reduction. I mean, in these hard times, you spend the same amounts of money and you get more. I mean, it's a good thing. And like you said, people were really excited about it. So do you think that it wouldn't happen?
I wasn't excited personally because I knew it can't happen. It won't happen.
Okay, so let's take somebody then who
It
is,
won't.
let's take somebody
Ndu.
like me who is then not as speculative as yourself, who would say, my goodness, for
It's
1,000
going to be a
bob,
good thing.
yeah, for 1,000 bob, I can have power for an entire month,
Of
right?
62 units.
Double.
For 1,000, yeah.
Double what I'm
Right
buying
now you are getting 38,
I'm getting
39, I guess.
a little less than that, actually.
So let me tell you, this, I am here if you do betting. You can bet with this one. You can take this one to the bank. There is nowhere in Kenya you will get 33% reduction in the cost of electricity in this country.
By March.
If at all VAT will not be touched. Number two, if what we are expecting the shake-ups in Kenya Power, those shake-ups and the losses identification and all that, if that is where they want to get the savings for reduction to be done, that 15% will never happen. Will never happen. And I'm here, I will come back here, and I will say, I told you, in March, unless they touch something on the taxation, there is nothing like that.
Unless they zero rate it, basically.
Or even just drop it.
Drop it by a few.
Because now, I last time I was here, I
VAT
said,
by 13%.
by 13%. Yeah, by the way, 15%, unless they say, by the way, the president is saying, we will reduce. And of course, sometimes he listens to people. You know, I have seen a lot of things in this country that they are cheating the president.
Yeah.
I saw in politics in Kiamba, other areas, and watu wanajipiga kifua akisema this will happen. But he also sits back and wonders, kwani mnidanganya? So this is one area that I can tell him, amendanganywa 100%. Because if he should ask them, Sasa mumeniambia nitangaze 15%. What are you touching? If they will keep on saying tumeambia Kenya Power reduce. Kenya Power had said if you don't give us an increase of 20%, we are going to make a loss. Then you tell them that they reduce. That will not happen. And I have seen, and I always say, even in developed countries, what the president should look at are such things. Because like the number one infrastructure, I think, in Africa is Namibia. But it happens that in terms of GDP and all that, Kenya is ahead. So you have actually developed infrastructure, but people don't have cars because the economy cannot allow. So now, right now here, what we are saying that key to what he is saying, that you are going to realize a reduction of 15%. He should have brought, I don't know who is the PS for Energy, I think is
We have a new... He remember, the president, upon receiving this report and saying, let's implement the report.
Yes.
He went to the Ministry of Energy and did an entire shake-up.
Yes.
Removed the PS, removed the CS. Brought in an Chiva Awaka, Ambassador Monica Juma.
Yes.
Brought in retired General Gordon Kihalangwa.
Yes.
That's a new CS and PS.
Yes.
And the people who are also overseeing the implementation of this task force report include CS Fred Matiang'i, who chaired the first meeting of the task force team and told them, all right, so the president has told us our marching orders are these.
I wish I was there.
So you see, the president has basically said, everything that you need, you have it.
They don't have one thing. The mandate to touch the VAT. That they don't have. They don't have the mandate to touch the IPPs. I said, and the matches I said, and I will repeat this very many times. If this report was about the PPAs of those independent power producers, I have said, come here, don't even study them. Tell them, go home. You will only get 12.81%. Even if you tell them to go home. Remember, they cannot go home. They have some contracts that are biting. So just expect like 1 shilling from whatever they are going to do. Go and tell Kenya Power, we need you to reduce the losses. From 24%, you bring it to 0. They can't do that, and it can take a few months. So when the president is saying even 15% in the next 3 months, I'm very worried, because where is he getting that money from if it is not from the VAT?
Am I then hearing you, Dereva, saying that for us to see a realization of a drop in cost of electricity in this country, the only way is by reducing the tax?
By reducing the tax. And tax, if you are told there is no taxation, there is no VAT in electricity, the maximum you can get is 13%. 13. So remember, he said 15. So, and he did not mention anything to do with it. So even if he says VAT imekuja 0 shillings, you will only get 13%. He has to come somewhere else. Aseme forex imekuwa 0. Hii ingine imekuwa 0. So 33 in this country, I think we are dreaming.
So then the other thing that I'm hearing you say is that the amount we are paying for power is reasonable.
Not all classes. I said for the biggest proportion, like 60% of the citizens, wale wali connect to on a last mile, and they are spending like less than 100 kilowatt hours. Those ones we can say...
Domestic homes in the villages.
Yes, those domestic and villages, those are doing okay, I would say. At that around 17, 16 shillings, 18, I wouldn't have a big problem. But now, those guys who are in industry, who are paying like 22, 24, and then this... any Kenyan who is driving, I would say, is paying 25 shillings. I've just decided to say, huyo mtu ana drive lazima akuwe na instant water heater kwake. Lazima akuwe akisikia baridi, he can take some heater.
So the consumption per month is higher.
It's also higher. So going beyond 100 kilowatt hours.
So it's unreasonable for those two categories.
Yeah. So, I mean, this reduction, and I don't know who will tell the president. Even if I was to pass through State House, ndaombe unaona hii report, hii ulipewa hii. Hii, don't read it. If they have not talked about VAT, hii that 3%, hii usiguze. Don't even think about it. Don't even cause a lot of commotion in Kenya Power trying to reshuffle people. Don't think about. I am here. I will be here any other time, and I will repeat the same.
You are in this sector.
Yes.
Dereva. You have worked in this organization, in this sector for a while.
Yes.
So, obviously, you interact with other engineers and others who are in the sector. Are they saying the same thing that you're saying? Or are there those who would actually tell you, no, what the task force recommended makes sense, and what the president is announcing to the public makes sense? Are there those who disagree with you?
It's nobody who's disagreeing. In fact, I'll tell you, I interact with very many of them. In Kenya Power, I think I interact with very many of them. Much as they are engineers, we are also, I do energy auditing.
Yep.
Energy auditing is also looking at their bills, what is making them consume more and all that. And we have to interact with Kenya Power and EPRA people. And when I told EPRA, you guys, have you seen this report? Where is that 3% coming from? They said that the president has said, it is the president who has, and it must happen. I said, it's okay. It must happen, but how? Mm-hmm. He said, never mind, they are experts. We are not experts as far as that is concerned. I said, I am an expert, an independent expert. And I have to tell you that this will not happen. And if it happens, we will not have Kenya Power in this country. Because basically, even if you sell one Kenya Power at 1 shilling per kilowatt hour, 1 shilling, you sell to them instead of 5, you can still get that reduction. I mean, if Kenya Power watoke badala ya kuziwa 8 shillings, wauziwe 1 shilling, it can't happen. And of course, I don't know who misinformed these people. But let me tell you.
You've told us before of political statements that have been made with regards to power and the reduction of the costs.
Yes.
And previously it has happened, just for political expediency. We have seen a reduction and then we've seen a progressive return to the old billing. Why aren't we seeing that now?
First of all, let me tell you.
Why can't we see a 15% reduction today? And then, during the whole campaign season and all, it will come back up.
I will tell you something, Eric, and something that people were conned. In August of 2018, they were told that, I remember the Director General was Pavel Oimeke. He's now the MP for, I think, Borabu or something. And they said, power has been reduced from this to this. In fact, even standing charge has been removed. Do you know, power was actually increased? Because those people who are paying 8 shillings started paying. It was actually some addition to Kenya Power's income. But then they reduced taxation, they reduced forex and all that. Things that grows with the time. So the government was a bit political. Wakasema, let us reduce this. Then the top there will still remain like it is the same or reduced, but it will grow. And that is what has grown. Now, would you imagine how was it reduced? And we have not found any gazettement of saying power has been increased. If it was reduced in 2018, why is it more than before? If it was a reduction. So those are political statements. We are, as billing experts, of course, we look at the details of what they have said, and we can tell you that this is empty. Even when they said that 3%, we said, hiyo hakuna kitu itapatikana. If it is not going to be VAT, it will not. In fact, you cannot tell people that you can score, out of 700 marks, you can score 800. That is what we are saying. Yeah.
So finally,
yes,
what's your message to the president?
If he is watching this or is going to listen, I will tell him, VAT is not a big component as far as the Kenyan's income is concerned. So even if he scraps VAT from the billing, there is no harm. But he should also remember that that is only going to give 13%. So for the 33%, he should just get another team to investigate the team that told him that and ask the team, can you tell me bit by bit, what is this that we are going to get from Forex? What is it that we are going to get from consumption for us to get a total of 33%? That is basically what he should do. Otherwise, I will tell him that he will continue announcing, but as far as he doesn't call them to task and ask them, where do you want us to reduce? He will never realize that. He's going to retire with he's going to leave office with a lot of controversy and being told that you promised this, it never happened. Just like laptops and the dams and all that. That is what will happen.
Isaac Nereva, thank you very much for joining us. Isaac is a power bills expert and he's with the Electricity Consumer Society of Kenya. We've been talking about the president's pledge, and he called it a promise to reduce power bills by the end of December by 15% and a further 15% by the end of March. Is it happening? We want to hear from you. And thank you very much for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room. It's now 8 a.m.
spice up your life.
The Spice FM Newswire is brought to you by InDriver. Choose your preferred driver, mode of transport, and negotiate your fare to your destination for a safe, comfortable, and affordable trip only with InDriver.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Happy New Year to you. This is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. Musalia Mudavadi's Zamani National Congress Party has downplayed the impact of the defection of 3 of its members of parliament and MCS during the Azimio la Umoja event in Bohongo Stadium, where Raila Odinga was endorsed. Lugari MP Ayub Savula, who is ANC's party leader, was among the leaders who vowed to support Odinga's quest for the presidency. Others who defected include Teso North MP Oku Kaunya and several MCS. ANC says that the party is strong and focused on going to the ballot with Mudavadi as the candidate selected by the Okoh team to fly the flag. Engineers working under the China Genzhouba Group company in the construction of the multi-billion Thwake Dam have made a major milestone, diverting a stretch of Athi River from its natural course to 2 megatunnels. The dam builders have already constructed 2 megatunnels, which now provide a substitute waterway for Athi before its waters are channeled to rejoin the original course to the Indian Ocean. General Manager, China Genzhouba Group Company Limited, Frank K. The major achievement they have made so far is completing the 2 major tunnels and now diverting the river. The dam, which is being constructed at the borders of Makueni and Kitui counties, is now at 65% and will be completed by June. The Teachers Service Commission CEO Nancy Macharia has warned teachers against aiding students to cheat in the upcoming national examinations. The TSC boss noted that as schools resume for the 3rd term today, teachers ought to ensure that students prepare adequately for the national exams. She recounted that in the past exams, a number of teachers were caught in exam irregularities, which led to tough measures being taken against them. Macharia also challenged head teachers to try and get solutions to exam phobia, which she termed as one of the causes of school unrest in the past months that saw over 30 school dormitories burnt. Police in Lari, Igembe North constituency have recovered 25 motorbikes and arrested 4 people in connection with the theft. According to Igembe North Sub-County Police Commander Martin Kantai, his officers managed to recover the motorbikes, which were to be taken to neighboring counties and neighboring countries. Kantai says the motorbikes might have been stolen from as far as Isiolo, Embu and down from Mwingi counties. The sub-county police commander noted that most of the suspects were youth and urged them, especially those purchasing motorbikes through hire purchase and loans, to be faithful to their hiring companies and desist from giving false information to their companies and police officers. The 4 suspects will be taken to court today. A man has been arrested after a large fire severely damaged the Houses of Parliament in the South African city of Cape Town. A police spokesperson said the man was facing charges of arson, housebreaking and theft and would appear in court tomorrow. President Cyril Ramaphosa called it a terrible and devastating event as he vowed Parliament's work would continue. Officials said the fire started on the 3rd floor offices and quickly spread to the National Assembly chambers. The suspect is also expected to be charged under the National Key Points Act, which protects sites of strategic importance. And Israel is the first country in the world to approve an additional 4th dose against COVID-19 for people aged 60 years and above. Israel Prime Minister Naftali Bennett has said the move is aimed at protecting them against the Omicron variant. Bennett has also warned that the number of infections could increase, fearing that 500,000 people will be infected with the virus every day, while urging citizens to get vaccinated. More than 4 million people in the country have received a 3rd additional dose against COVID-19, making it the nation with the most vaccinated individuals. Back home, we continue to urge you to go get tested so that you can go also get vaccinated against COVID-19. Protect yourself and those that you love. Chelsea came from 2 goals down to earn a draw with Liverpool in the Stamford Bridge Classic, a result that only strengthens Manchester City's stranglehold in the Premier League title race. Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp missed the game after a suspected positive test for COVID-19, while Chelsea manager Thomas Tuchel dropped £97.5 million record signing Romelu Lukaku from his squad after a controversial interview in which he expressed discontent with his current situation. It looked like Klopp would be the happier of the 2 bosses when Sadio Mane, fortunate to escape with only a yellow card after flattening Cesar Azpilicueta, with a high elbow in the opening seconds, pounced on Trevor Chaloba's mistake to put Liverpool in front after 9 minutes. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto.
The SpiceFM Newswire is brought to you by InDriver. Download the InDriver app from the App Store or Google Play Store to enjoy a safe, comfortable, and affordable ride around Nairobi.
.5 Spice FM.
All right, we're looking at
Kisumu.
Jogoro this morning, a little bit right around Makadara. Lunga Lunga also, an enterprise road, a little bit of traffic here and there, nothing too difficult. Looks like pretty streets, most of Nairobi today. Landis Road, getting into the city. And then you see that whole CBD area is a mishmash of traffic. A little bit of it in Gara, Pangani, here and there, then going out Kipande, but coming off Thika Superhighway, just a little bit in and outbound, as well as Juja Road. And nothing else slapping you this morning in the face in terms of traffic. Still a slow day in the city. If we look at other parts of the country as well, we're looking at slow traffic in Mombasa today, in town, also in Kisumu in the city, in Nakuru in the city, in and outbound. We have some outbound traffic, but that's what we're about the size of it right now. We'll keep an eye on things this morning. SpiceFMKE on Twitter. Let's text on 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the
A
Situation
very good morning
Room,
to you, and
the
how are
only
you
way
doing?
to
This is
start
Kenya's
your day.
biggest conversation in this new year on this third day of January 2022, 8 minutes after 8. Good morning. Wherever you're tuned in this morning on Spice FM 94.4 in Nairobi or Mombasa 87.9 or 102.5 in Kisumu or 96.0 Nakuru, 96.7 Eldoret, Nyeri 90.9 or 97.7 in Malindi. We live stream the show as well on YouTube and Facebook, Spice FM KE. And for the next 1 hour, we are also live on KTN Home. A very good morning to our audience joining us on TV. This morning, it's Eric Latiff and Ndu Okoh, our colleague C.T. Muga, has taken an extra day or two. He is charging his batteries for this year. And for that reason, I have today's proverb. It's a Somali proverb. The teeth and the tongue are close neighbors, and yet they sometimes bite each other. The teeth and the tongue are close neighbors, and yet they sometimes bite each other. I'm sure if I was to take a poll, there are a number of people this morning who tell you, I bit my tongue in the last couple of days. Or I bit my cheek.
Yeah.
Someone will even say I bit my gum.
True.
The teeth and the tongue are close neighbors, and yet they sometimes bite each other because they are close neighbors.
Because they're close neighbors, they would somehow bite each other.
They'll end up biting each other.
Yep.
Occasionally, here and there. So in the previous hour, we were talking about the pledge by the president, which he first made in October last year, and then he came and repeated that same pledge in December last year during the Jamhuri Day celebrations. And he said, you know what, guys, I promised that we're going to see a reduction of electricity prices in the country. And then he said, you know what, that's actually on course, okay? We are going to implement it in 2 tranches. The first time he had said it was going to happen by December, we are going to have a 33% drop in electricity prices. And this is not something that he just picked out of the blues. He received a report by a team that he had put together to look at what is the cause of the high electricity prices in the country. That team had given him a report, and the report was saying that if we do 1, 2, 3 things, we can see a 33% reduction by December. The president said yes, and he announced that. So when he came to December, he told us, that one, it's still on course. In fact, we're going to do it in 2 tranches to make it even better. The first tranche, end of December, 15% reduction by addressing system losses within KPLC. Second, by looking at the power purchase agreements with the independent power producers and everybody else, we're going to see a further 15% reduction by the end of the first quarter of 2022. Well, December has gone. Have you seen a reduction in your power prices? That's what we're discussing with Isaac Ndereba earlier, and you were saying, even forget it. It's not going to happen. It will not happen because the recommendations are not realistic. So let's then look at what else the president has actually pledged to do. In his New Year's address, the president said, what I want to do is look at a couple of things that I want to address as we get into the new year. He says he wants to focus on 3 themes, and he called them the Uhuru Doctrine.
Oh, yeah, yes.
The Uhuru Doctrine is the core beliefs as far as politics and leadership is concerned. The first one, he called it the first tenet of the Uhuru Doctrine, the shift from politics to leadership. It's not just about politics and rhetoric. It's about leadership, providing leadership on how the country needs to go. And he says, the colonizers introduced a virus in our African political system. They made us believe that the political kingdom was more desirable than the economic kingdom. That's why for decades we have wallowed in poverty, chasing the political kingdom. And in our hot pursuit of politics, we have become poorer as the economic kingdom gets captured by foreigners. And maybe our political systems were misengineered to keep the Africans busy with politics as the foreigners continue the colonization of our economies. As if the pursuit of the political kingdom has only entrenched poverty in Africa, we must rethink this model, the president said. If chasing the political kingdom is a relic of the colonial order, the new frontier for Kenya must be economic development without politics. These are the words of President Uhuru Kenyatta on New Year's Eve. The second tenet of the Uhuru Doctrine, he called it, is a shift from law to justice. So it's not just about law. Law is a tool for justice, he said. Law is just a tool that serves an end called justice. If the law becomes an end in itself, the survival of the nation state is endangered. For us to therefore build on the strong foundation we have set, we must be driven by the big picture called justice, not only by a tool called the law. More so because the law without justice is a national wound without cure. Uhuru Doctrine number
2.
Uhuru Doctrine number 3. Shift from popular decisions to bold decisions. For China to industrialize in 35 years and the Asian tigers to industrialize in 25 years, it took bold decisions. And one of these decisions was to reduce the degrees of politics in their industrialization policy. Imposing limits to politics was a bold and unpopular path, but that is what transformed these economies. In the last 6 months of 2021, Kenya's economy has grown, he said. That's as a result of bold decisions, the popular decisions, not popular decisions. So he came and said, now, as we go into 2022, there are 5 state projects that are going to be completed that are going to lay the foundation for economic takeoff of the country. State project number 1, healthcare. The president said that in the new year 2022, we will achieve the implementation of UHC. That's universal health coverage. Yes, through our different programs, healthcare will be available, and that is in bold, and affordable, that is also in bold, to all. Healthcare will be available and affordable to all this year, 2022.
Okay.
Education. The president said early 2022, for instance, the CBC infrastructure program will have delivered 10,000 classrooms across the country.
By when, sorry?
Early 2022.
Early 2022. So You know how we say we can say Happy New Year till June? Is
Yes.
that kind of early we're talking about?
Mhm.
First 6 months of the year.
No, let's say first quarter. You know, everything here is first quarter.
Okay, first quarter of the year is when we're looking at 10,000 new classrooms having been constructed.
Remember the president during Mashujaa Day?
Gave some,
He
set aside
said
some billions
8
for this.
billion shillings
Right.
is going to the construction of new classrooms to cater for CBC.
Okay, yeah.
10,000 new classrooms. He says that one, they'll be done.
Okay.
Okay? Number 3, state infrastructure. The iconic Nairobi Express will be open for use in the first quarter of 2022. Away from Nairobi, in Kisumu, the Mamboleo Road, the Eldoret Bypass, the Kenol Marua Road, the Mombasa Port Road, the Network Support Project, the James Gishuru Rironi Road expansion, the Mau Mau roads will also be completed in the first quarter of 2022.
But you know what he said, and you need to look at the words that he used there, the words that I'm hearing what you said. He did not say the iconic Nairobi Expressway will be completed in the first quarter. He said it will be open for use.
So
you can get on it and move from
Are
point
you going
A
to be
point B.
opening something for use if it's not completed?
Yes, now, even now, they're not using the expressway.
No.
It will not be completed. It will be open for use. You can use it. You can use it. So again, we had heard words before that it would be completed. This is not, we've heard it before that it would be completed. Now we're hearing it will be open for use.
To receive an
The same
occupation
way we were
certificate
told the
for a
Big
house,
Four
that
agenda,
house is complete.
We were told about the Big Four agenda. The house can be complete, but you've not put tiles, you've not put piping. You can use it, right? You've not even put ceiling boards, but you can use the house, right? It can be open for you. You can move in and be completing it as you go along, n'est-ce pas? You can. But it's the same thing when we talked about the Big Four agenda as well. That, you know what? The Big Four agenda will be completed by the end of my administration. And then later, what were we told?
It's a foundation.
I've set the foundation. Now, those who come after me now will be able to build on the foundation that I have already created. So I just wanted to... Now, please, continue. You said there were 5. We're on 3.
We're on 3.
Yeah.
No, we're on 4.
Expressway now, after expressway. Expressway is
Okay,
iconic as
that
part
was
of
number 3.
infrastructure. Yes,
Number
yes.
3. Number 4, water and sanitation. In 2022, the Nairobi Metropolitan will finally end the water scarcity in the city by completing the Northern Tunnel Water Project that's expected to double water supply to the region. Not Nairobi City, Nairobi Metropolitan.
That includes the dormitory towns.
Yes.
This way and this way.
We are not going to have any more water issues, water shortages. That thing called the Northern Collector Tunnel, complete, water doubled into Nairobi, water, taps, open your tap, water. 2022.
I'm laughing.
2022, that's now you. Number 5, energy, with electricity prices expected to be reviewed even further downwards by the end of the first quarter of 2022. December has come and gone 15%. We're still debating whether what we are seeing is actually 15% or whether we have just lost our way in math. But by end of March, we're going to have a 30% reduction in power. By end of March, water in Nairobi Metropolitan, open tap. That means you'll have a tap.
Even these dormitory towns of NMS that don't even have sewage systems.
Including
They don't have working
Sokemau,
sewage systems.
including
Then you have
Rongai.
running water. Where is the runoff going to?
Water is coming from Abadeas.
Have you sorry?
Northern Collector.
Sorry.
It's coming.
Have you finished?
Yes.
There were 4, Abi.
Those were 5.
The hair. No, there were 4.
There were 5. A, B, C, D, E are
Which one is
5.
E?
Healthcare, number 1. Education, number 2. Transport, number 3. Water and sanitation, number 4. Energy, number 5.
Energy, number 5. Okay. Now, look at the interesting thing about all of this is that you require adequate infrastructure to have each and every one of these things running. Healthcare, I don't even need to tell you about the infrastructure that you need for this thing to be rolling out. We mentioned a little bit of that earlier. Education, infrastructure, which is what this is hopped on, very nice. But then, are you going to build a classroom and leave it just like that? We're looking at a curriculum upon all of which all of this is hedged, and you need serious infrastructure. It has to be something akin to the turnkey projects that we see happening with the NMS and the 24 hospitals that they've built. It has to be plug and play. For these classrooms as well.
10,000 classrooms.
10,000 of them
across the country
must have the relevant and adequate infrastructure within those 4 walls to work for education. It cannot just be...
Oh, so you mean they must have a blackboard? Okay. You mean they must have a desk and a chair? Okay. What else do you want?
everything in order for this CBC to work. Okay? You need turnkey solutions to these things that we're talking about. The expressway, very good. It will work somehow. People will cross the road from one point to the other.
In fact,
whether
the president...
they get knocked by a truck or not, because we can see that, all right, I keep forgetting the name of these things that people cross over. What are they called?
Footbridges.
Footbridges, thank you. That are being used, they're being erected. At Imaradaima, we've seen one or two, and then we're going towards Westerns. We've seen the other ones being worked
There's
on.
none other. I've only seen none.
You only okay, there's one.
No new footbridge.
There's a new footbridge being erected here around Imaradaima. New one, brand new one. It's being worked on.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So, and then we want to look at the water and sanitation. Now,
Northern Collector Tunnel, that project has been ongoing for a while.
This is where I have a problem.
The Northern Collector Tunnel, first, it's not a pipe dream. It's been there. Well,
pipe dream.
It's been there.
This one is a pipe dream. Eric, the dormitory towns of Nairobi. Let's look towards the north.
Where is north?
Let's look at Ruiru.
Okay.
Let's look at which other towns are we looking at?
So we come all the way from Ruiru.
Yes.
Or you want us to start from Ruiru,
yes,
coming towards Nairobi.
Forget about the ones that are further than we're
Forget
coming
Juja.
Okay, let's add Juja.
Okay.
Right? Let's bring Juja in. We come to this side. We come now. Then we're going towards Kitengela.
Yes.
Athi River. Then you're coming this way, Syokimau.
Syokimau, Katani.
They do not have working sewage systems today. I keep giving you the example of Kitengela residents who were seeing raw sewage running outside their homes and were causing health problems. They said, you know what, this is too much. We are waiting for county government to do something. Nothing has happened. Kajiado is not helping us. Looking on this other side, Mavoko is not helping us. So what do? We are going to collect money, 40 million shillings. They put in their own sewage system. Now you're saying you want to...
Does it serve the entire Kitengela?
Most of it. Most of Kitengela, right?
Who gave them the land? Okay.
Is that they said they don't have... They said they want to now complain about land. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, a sewer system has to have land. Why are you taking that?
They don't have water supply from county. They've put in their own system because they've seen this is too much. The health challenges that not having a sewage system poses is greater than the sacrifice that we're going to have to spend if we contribute, right? They said, let's go ahead and do this. Now, what you're saying is, in this year,
we are going to sort out the people of Kitengela.
Sort out all of these problems.
Yes.
Start from somewhere. What work have we even seen at the beginning that you've started? This Northern Collector.
It's a doctrine, Ndu. It's the Uhuru Doctrine. You've got to understand this. I mean, I don't know why you're having a difficulty just adjusting into the new year. It's called the Uhuru Doctrine.
Oh, so now we drop
it's not just
everything
politics,
that happened in
it's leadership.
Now we are believing
it's
in
not politics, it's leadership.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
You know, you can say it as many times as you want until the cows come home, but it doesn't necessarily mean that people are going to believe you just because you've said something that sounds fancy.
So what are you saying is not going to be achievable?
This
5.
Take your pick, my friend. Which one do you like? What?
So when the president goes ahead and, because this is a very bold statement that the president made here. And it's not the first time that the president has actually made some bold statements. In 2017, same Jamhuri Day, he came and addressed the nation. Soon after being sworn in to start a second and final term. And he said, you know what, guys, I'm going to focus on 4 things. And I'm going to call this the Big 4 agenda.
Again,
and in 4 years, by the time I'm finishing, my legacy will be universal health coverage, will be food security for the people, will be improving manufacturing, will be, what's the other thing? Affordable housing, putting up 500,000 houses. And then the other one was?
There are 4, don't worry, you've done 4.
There are 4.
You're good.
Oh, these are the ones that are 5.
4
the
agenda.
Big 4.
Yes.
Those things. He made a bold statement. 2 years ago in 2019, when he went to do the State of the Nation address in Parliament, he said, you know what, this bold statement that I made in 2017 was actually saying we are setting a foundation, laying the foundation for achieving these things. Not that they are going to be achieved. That's not what I said. In October last year, the president called a press conference and he said, I have received a report of a team that I had put together to look at the power bills. And they have taken me through their report. And they have said that we can actually see a 33% reduction of our power bills by December. He said by December.
Yes, he did.
He comes in December and says, that thing is on course. It's actually not going to be achieved by December. It's going to be achieved by the first quarter of 2022 in 2 tranches.
Yes.
He changed what he had said. And he wanted to make us believe we are the ones who had not understood what he was saying. Now he has come with the Uhuru Doctrine. And he has told us these 4 things. UHC this year is going to be, everybody is going to have accessible and affordable healthcare. We know there's whatever is happening to the NHIF bill is before the Senate. It passed the National Assembly.
Yes.
It's revamping and rejigging NHIF to have everybody contributing to NHIF and all. But then there's everything else that needs to happen. So, Mashujaa Day, he says, we are going to have 5 billion shillings put into the healthcare system to build more facilities. And he has even been looking at how many new ICU beds we have in the country, how many blah, 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 what has happened to the health sector in the last couple of years of his presidency and devolution. And he says, now there's progress. He says, we're going to achieve UHC this year. Is that realistic or is it not? Does the president actually believe what he's saying?
I think this is the crux of the matter. That does he really believe what he's saying, or was he given a piece of paper to read and let people know what are on the minds that would make it sound good for some kind of leadership or political expediency? Or that does he really believe that these things are possible? Because anybody who is looking at it now, anybody who's on the ground can see that it would be very difficult. Even if you just want to take one of them, the first one, healthcare, and then we can harp on this thing for as long as we can. I had a chat with Dr. Mercy Correa the other day. She said, you know what? There's so much that is needed. For this UHC is the answer to so many things when it comes to healthcare in this country. But if you don't get your ducks in a row, it is not possible. And that's what we are saying. The implementation arm of these projects is the lifeline, is the blood of these things. Without it, it is not possible. All it remains is just the proclamation of doctrine. That's it. All you're doing is having a monologue with yourself. It's a monologue, and you're just telling people about this wonderful thing and how nice it sounds to the ear. And that you're just roping people on constantly with the desire to do and be better. But it doesn't actually work. That the people who have to see raw sewage flowing in front of their homes every day, and they deal with disease, they deal with inconvenience on a daily basis. Do you know how painful it is for you to come and whisper in their ear that there is the hope that this thing could disappear when you know fully well that it is not going to happen? It's akin to a sin.
It takes a lot more.
It's a lot more
for
than a
Nairobi
proclamation.
Metropolitan to actually have functioning system, sanitation system.
Come on.
Even just talking about getting access to water. So yes, the Northern Collector Tunnel is going to bring double the amount of water towards Nairobi. But where will that water go?
Where is it going?
Are there water kiosks? Because Nairobi's reticulation just needs an entire overhaul of piping into homes. So are we working on the piping into homes? If you're not working on the reticulation, then you should be telling me that then what we are doing is in every area we have these water kiosks where we say that this is the nearest point where you can go and actually access water.
Yes.
Right? So it's not going to be Mkokotenis selling you water where you don't know where they've gotten the water from. You're actually going to have a place where you can get water. Downstairs of your every flat, or every 10 blocks of flats, there's actually a Nairobi water point.
Yes.
Where you know the source of the water. That's not what I am not hearing the president saying that. I'm not hearing anybody who's talking about water sanitation in 2022 talking about that.
It sounds very
Healthcare,
nice.
we are not talking about what needs to happen to make these ICU beds even operational, because they are not operational. Yes, they're ICU beds, but how many ICU nurses do we have? How many equipment do we have in these wards? We don't have that. We don't have access to medicine. I just gave you an example of a friend of mine who has a son who is undergoing chemotherapy at KNH. He was admitted to KNH for the second round of chemotherapy, and he was told, you know what, you need to go and buy these drugs because KNH does not have these drugs today.
And we're talking about in this same year that you want to make it seamless and smooth as possible for everybody to come and access, whether you have a cut on your finger or you're dealing with brain surgery. That's what we're saying, essentially.
Yep.
And we're going to have it all sorted out.
Available, accessible, and affordable. That's a big part. Accessible and affordable. My friend Nation pays for NHIF. The son qualifies for Afia, Edu Afia, NHIF, which pays everything for every student in public schools in this country. But even NHIF could not sort out what's happening at KNH in terms of just supply chain management.
Figuring that out. Again, the responsibility of running this UHC vehicle lies on the shoulders of NHIF. What does that mean? That NHIF needs at least 40 million people to be contributing to the grid. Let's call it a grid for the purposes
so
of
it works.
this, right? You need them contributing, which in my opinion is very okay. If you have that number of people contributing to this fund, then you can run these things that we are talking about. You can fix the water that's needed at the dispensary level. You can fix this medicine and supply issue that we have from the national supplier. You can fix all these other kinks. Which plan do they have in place, for example, to have 40 million Kenyans contributing to the fund? Nominal 500 shillings.
Let's take a break at this point. It's 8:30. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. We are live on SpiceFM. We are live streaming the show online, and we are also live on KTN Home. After the break, we'll take your calls, and we're asking ourselves this morning, does the president actually believe the things that he's telling us? If he believes it, then he knows that he is not telling us the truth. Or is the president gullible enough to actually take the lies from his officers and go ahead and regurgitate them and feed them to us? That's our question. 0719-012-600. We'll pick your calls after this.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
I hope you don't believe that Hustler is a poor person. Hustler is a person who is making his a living through hard work.
The group of leaders we are having now, Kenyans, listen, the chemical composition is the same. You will mold them to ODM, then NASA, you mold them to KANU, mold them to Jubilee, mold them to any other different color sometimes, but the chemical composition is the same.
It's not about me as Nurdin Haji, but it's about the constitution that I swore to protect. So when individuals attempt to hoard those powers and they want to be investigators and also prosecutors, then of course I have to defend that position because that position is in the constitution and that's what Kenyans wanted.
I'll tell you what happens is that when you ignore court orders, you're creating and quoting anarchy. Then you create a very dangerous precedent.
A story is told of the first president of the country who also went to visit Mathare, presidential tour. Yeah? And of course, he went to this place and he introduced himself. So one of the invites says, hata wewe kuna jina kama yangu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Cloudy conditions in Nairobi this morning, going to highs of 26 and lows of 16 today. All right, let's look into Nakuru City, where it is sunny at 17, highs of 28 and lows of 13. Nyeri is partly sunny at 16, highs of 25 and lows of 11. Eldoret is sunny at 17, highs of 26 and lows of 12. Light rain now in Mombasa at 27, highs of 32 and lows of 26, while in Malindi it is raining at 29. Highs of 32 and lows of 26. All right, Kampala this morning is starting Kisumu, where it's mostly sunny at 21, highs of 29 and lows of 19, while Kakamega is sunny at 22, we'll see highs of 30 and lows of 15. 21 and sunny in Kampala, highs of 27 and lows of 19, while it's sunny in Dar es Salaam at 29, highs of 32 and lows of 27. Johannesburg is sunny at 17, highs of 26 and lows of 15, while Lagos is mostly clear at 26, we'll see highs of 33 and lows of 25. It's raining in Kinshasa at 25, highs of 29 and lows of 23.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Okay, so we're still
Spice
looking
up
at
your
an
life.
easy morning this Monday for traffic in most parts of the city. A little bit of a hiccup right around Imara Daima on Mombasa Road, and then going towards North Airport Road. A little bit of traffic that's playing here and there in industrial area as well. But it looks pretty good on Uhuru Highway out through to the roundabout and then well into Westlands. A few hiccups here and there on Gong Road and in the CBDs where you see the most of it this morning. Thika Super Highway looking really good today. And what was happening around Pangani still continues here and there just a bit. Ring Road Ngara also continues with some, and a little bit of traffic coming off James Gishuru onto Waiaki Way this morning is what we see now. Kiambu Road also just a little bit right around the DCI headquarters as you head out towards Muthui Square. Apart from that, it's manageable so far. A few minutes after 8:30, we'll take a look in half an hour and see what it looks like as we get out of traffic hour really early today. SpiceFM KE on Twitter, text 40127.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
It is 24 minutes to 9. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It
Nairobi.
continues in the room with you this morning. The Situation Room is Eric Latiff and Ndu Okoh, our colleague CT Muga, wishes you a happy new year, but he's away for a day. So we want to hear from you this morning. The president has made a number of pledges and promises in the last couple of years. Okay, so let's look at the ones that he made most recently. And this is on New Year's Eve. He said 5 things are going to happen in 2022. 1, we are finally going to have universal health coverage. That's, he says, yes, through our different programs, healthcare will be available to all and affordable to all. Second, he says, in education, the CBC infrastructure program will have 10,000 new classrooms delivered in early 2022. Transport and infrastructure, the president himself had said that by March this year, he's going to get onto his G-Wagon. I'm assuming it's a G-Wagon. At Chumvi in Machakos Junction, drive himself, get to Mlolongo, join the expressway. Get onto the expressway, up, down, up, down, up, down, up to Westlands, ABC Place, down, exit the expressway. Join the new road that's been done between the Westlands and Rironi. That's the turn-off to Maimahiu.
Yes.
All that section that has been one long construction site will be complete first quarter this year. That's what he says. He also says about water and sanitation. Nairobi Metropolitan this year, we're going to have problems of water being history because the Northern Collector Tunnel is coming online. Water and sanitation sorted. Finally, energy. He says the first pledge he made was by the end of December, we're going to have a 15% reduction in power bills. You'll tell us whether you're seeing that. And then by March this year, you're going to have a further 15% reduction in power bills. Now, is the president being conservative with the truth? Or is the president fully believing that these things are achievable? We want to hear from you this morning. 0719 012 600. Jack in Eldoret. Good morning.
Morning to you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Jack.
Yeah, you know, today is the only last day for people to telling me New Year. Tomorrow, if you tell me New Year, it's a crime.
Okay.
Yeah, you see, this thing about the president, already now, this is his strength here, you know. And what he promised to bring us in 100 days in 2013 has not even been completed. We were even promised, I heard that those story of stadiums, they said that our children were going to be given laptops like that. And you can find in a rural area, there is not even electricity, there is no water, you know. There are classrooms which are made by math. You see, teachers are teaching some pupils outside. And in my neighboring school, you can find pupils are sitting 5 or 4 in one desk in class 3. So you can see that the president maybe is Anamakosa, but the advisors might be advising him wrongly. You know?
So you think he's being lied to by his advisors?
I advise this statement to the president that please, Mr. President, when you receive your speech, just receive it 24 hours before you read it.
Okay, Jack.
You know, some people are following the president not because they want him to deliver. It's because they want something from him. You know, they want just to unyonya, like kupe unona.
So they want him to fail.
If the president wants to survive, he should scrub away his committee, and so that we can at least plan. You can see now the electricity which you are saying has been reduced. Nimenunua stima, naona is just the same like the other month.
No reduction.
So
thank you, Jack.
You can find that. Hata nimekasirika.
Thank you. Usikasirike sana, it's a new year. Ed in Nyeri, good morning.
Morning, guys. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Ed.
Now, there are three things that I have said as far as the president is concerned. One, I have said he is a PR president. Second, there is a time, CT, you can remember, I questioned who advises him. And three, there is a time I really questioned how out of touch he is with the people. Because I can tell you this. Whoever advises the president, with all due respect, does a very good job at being bad at it. And I can tell you this. The president is actually, when he reads the speech and vitu kwa ground is different, it actually looks like a shadow, you know? A shadow cannot do anything unless you do it.
Do you think the president, so you say the president is being misadvised. So do you think the president is so gullible that he actually does not see that what he's being told is not
what the situation
is?
Okay, I'm going to paint it like this. He's so gullible in the sense, maybe places really atapelekwa. Ni places already zimejengwa barabara, zimefanywa hivi. But in the real sense, look at this. For example, the health sector. I bet the president doesn't know that there are some doctors who are in Kirinyaga County, even now, despite a court order that suffices that they have to go back to work. I bet the president doesn't know that those doctors are not at work. You remember those strikes, they cost of money?
Yeah.
Yes. I bet the president doesn't know that those guys are not at work.
Okay. We hear you. Let's hear from others as well.
Have a good one, huh?
Thank you, Ed. Kakawa in Kasarani. Hello, Kakawa.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Kakawa, what do you make of what the president is saying? Do you think the president actually believes what he reads in his speeches?
Very much. Number one, advisors wote ndio wanamdanganya. Lakini things katika on the ground are very different. Tukirudi, unajua alikuwa amepeana direction ya stima. Itarudishwa chini by December. Nothing is on the ground. Still the deal is the same. The connection ya stima. Nakumbuka wakati fulani kitambo walikuwa wamesema atareduce up to 17,000, 15,000, something like that.
Yep.
Kenya Power still wanalipisha 30, 70 ndio uwekewe stima. Tukuje mabarabara tu, barabara imejengwa wapi, zingine bado hata kama yangu ya kwenda nyumbani. Ati ilipewa tenda last 2019, 2020. Sasa saa hii hakuna kitu imefanyika, ilipita tu na tinga. So those who are advising ndio wakora wote.
Okay. Thank you, Kakawa. Richard in Thika, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Richard.
Now, I never take the president to be stupid. You can't be what he is with bad advice. He is speaking like somebody who is not in his last term. He is speaking like someone who's going to be an important contributor or agenda setter going forward. Because none of those things can be done before August.
So why does he say them?
Why does he keep saying them if he doesn't believe them?
No, he just thinks he will be able to do them eventually.
Ah. So when he says 2022, he actually has another date in mind.
Because you either think he's insane, which I don't, or it's possible that it's like what the Chinese guys have. 20-year plan, 30-year plan.
Yeah, but those were specifically demarcated, and they knew that in these 5 there was a 60-year plan, for example. 12 of them then marked into 5-year bits, right? Right now they're in the 11th or something like that. Those were clearly mapped out. So I would assume that if there was something like that, that would be clearly mapped out. So based on what you're saying,
but we see we have some limits.
Do you think then that he is intentionally being conservative with the truth to Kenyans about what is actually going to happen?
You see, we have term limits. You can't have a 30-year plan and say it's a 30-year plan.
No, but even in China, it was not one leader who implemented this, right? It was different leaders over time. So the other leader came and took over where the previous one had left off. So you can have a 30-year plan. It just doesn't mean it just means that the person who is coming in understands very clearly where they're continuing from, where the last one left off.
I think we're saying the same thing.
It's a national understanding.
So then in your books, Richard, he's making these promises knowing that they're going to be achieved at some point down the road, not necessarily during his term in office.
Yes, because the second part of your doctrine was what?
It's leadership.
Law is about justice.
Law towards justice. Law is a tool for justice.
Yes. You see, in liberal democracies, laws are supposed to check power. And when people don't like that, they start making excuses, trying to amend things so that those checks are not as
harsh
pronounced.
on them.
Yeah, harsh on them, yes.
We hear you, Richard. Thank you very much. Let's hear from Ernest in Roy. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Fine, thanks. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. I think we are staring at a president who has miserably failed the nation. But in response to his failures, he has tried and salvage something, try to do damage control now. Because if you look at even his philosophy, the one you're calling that law is a tool to justice.
The 3 doctrines.
That is the wrong way to look at it. Yeah. So the Uhuru Doctrine is a wrong doctrine that actually students of law should not listen to. Because law is the precursor to now what is justice. Okay? And Uhuru has a problem with it because I think the advisors are not legal advisors. Most of his advisors are philosophical advisors. Getting point of person like Muthui stuff. So let's go back to the development agenda that is planned out for 2022. So if he's not able to do it in 4 years, then 8 months would be a tall order for him to do this. So we all know that he's bound to fail, especially in Nairobi. Let's give an example of Roy. The sewage is right here. We do not have a working sewage system here.
Right.
So when the president talks about running water and we don't have sewage system here, so the infrastructure for whatever he wants to do is still wanting. So it doesn't exist. So he needs to set up the infrastructure first, then have whatever he needs to do in place. So he has everything left, right, center, and nothing aligned towards achieving whatever he wants to achieve. So I think it's all a lie. He's not going to achieve anything.
Thank you,
He's
Ernest.
bound to fail. He's failed before.
And it's going to fail again.
And nothing is going to come out. Okay.
John Joroge in Mombasa, good morning.
Good morning. Happy New Year, guys.
Happy New Year, John.
Okay, let me go straight to the point. And I say the president is not gullible. We are the one who are gullible. We have mastered the art of schooling. He explained to the public thoroughly. He comes with something which will be catchy to the people, and he said he's going to implement that. Because if there's one person in this country of ours that is well informed, well advised, is the president. So no report can come on his table. And then he look at it and then he goes to the public and announce. That report has to be looked at, understood, articulated. So people who are coming here and saying the advisors, who are the advisors? They can only advise. And I know he has advisors who advises him after he's been advised. So he's just playing politics.
We hear you. Thank you very much, John. Let's hear from Chris in Migori. Good morning.
Yes, good morning to Hawaii.
Good morning.
Yes, I'm happy to join in this conversation.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to highlight some things in whatever you highlighted this morning.
Right.
For the past 3 years, we've been just hearing of promises. But ideally, in terms of health sector, we are really suffering as Kenyans. And those people up there don't understand or don't know whatever we are going through. You will find that in a facility, we have the shortage of drugs. You are going there after treatment, you are being told that go and buy this one on the chemist. That's a great challenge. Then someone is telling us about universal health care. You know, comparing to the case in Rwanda, you know, if you compare how they achieve the health care, then that UHC is different with whatever with these people are telling us here. And you know, that should be a challenge and should be a motivation instead of just telling us something. Give us something so that we can feel the impact, because that's what we can count on. Yes, in terms of roads, not everyone has got a vehicle, but you can't eat roads. You know that. And if our pocket is blank with the economy, how will you expect me to travel daily? Yet I'm just a mere person. You see, that's a great challenge.
We hear you, Chris. Thank you very much. Asante sana. Well, thank you for all the, comments coming in. There's a lot of people who are saying, a number of people who are talking about it's the president's advisors. The president does not consume information from one source.
Sure, across board.
He has a lot of sources of information. Yes, there's going to be somebody who will come in from the line ministry, but then there are other people. He has political people who give him, the lay of the land, politically-wise. There is intelligence that he consumes. He has very many sources. So when someone comes and tells him, you know what, Mr. President, the road is complete, he has very many ways of establishing whether indeed what he's being told is true.
You know what? In as much as that happens, that there are people around him who tell him or give him a situation report of how things are going, he's not blind. He can see.
Yep.
He lives here. He's not president.
He's not a new president.
He doesn't operate from Mars, Kenya here.
He grew up here.
Right.
He has been in politics in this country. He's been a minister.
He's been to the corners of this country. If you want to even take Nairobi, he's been to the corners of Nairobi. He understands. He knows the situation. So even as much as somebody is presenting something to you, you still have the prerogative to interrogate that thing which they're asking you vis-a-vis what you know to be the situation on the ground. So he's still a thinking, functioning human being who can see the way things are. So just because somebody gives you something doesn't mean you regurgitate the same to Kenyans. You can see the situation. So can you ask these folks who are bringing these things to you, healthcare, education, energy, infrastructure, whatever it is.
So basically, what we're saying is the president knows when he's coming out there to say
he knows
this
the
is what's
situation.
going to be achieved in 2022, in the first quarter of 2022. He knows power bills are not going to drop by 33% by December. By the time he's saying it, he knows the probability of this happening, not high.
He knows that UHC is not going to be rolled out completely working in this country in 2022, talk less of the first quarter. He knows that water shortages are not going to be a thing of the past in the first quarter of 2022. In early 2022, he knows this very well. He knows that 10,000 classrooms are not going to be built this year in the country. He knows this. So this is my thing. Since you know it, why do you continue to raise the hopes of Kenyans to this point, only for you to come later and then put a pin in this hopeful balloon? Why do you do that? Why do you do it? Is it fun? Is it like a spectator sport? Is it fun for you? Why do you do it?
Somebody says we are the ones who are gullible.
I think there's a contributory factor there as well.
Because we are told
Continue
this.
giving them the opportunity to say
We were
these things
told
to
something
you.
in 2013.
It
We were
didn't
told
happen.
something in
Didn't
2017. We were
happen.
told something in 2018,
Didn't
19,
happen.
20,
Didn't
21.
happen.
We are being told stuff in 2022.
And then you expect the same. By the way, not a different individual, not a different administration. The same. It's actually quite funny. The same individual comes and tells you, "Oh, we'll do this. Doesn't happen. We'll do this. Doesn't happen. We'll do this. Doesn't happen." Then you come and give them audience.
In fact,
again.
we've done it. In fact, we've done it. Kenya's economy grew by an average of 10% last year. In fact, Kenya is number 6. We are number 6 where in the world, or was it in Africa? Somewhere.
For what?
There's a number 6 something.
There's a number 6 somewhere.
Keep it right here for more conversations on Spice FM and online, Spice FM KE, on YouTube and Facebook, where we are live streaming the show. We want to say goodbye to our audience on KTN Home. Join us again tomorrow morning on KTN Home between 8 and 9. But you can switch over to Spice FM. Where are you? Are you in Nairobi? 94.4. Mombasa, 87.9. 102.5 if you're in Kisumu. 96.0 if you're in Nakuru. 96.7 in Eldoret. 90.9 in Nyeri. And 97.7 in Malindi. We're here until 10 a.m. This is a Situation Room.
ABSA was very responsive when COVID came about. And one of the things that we worked together on was for them to give us a facility to enable us buy materials in huger volumes than we were buying.
ABSA introduced a product to us known as the Trade Management Online. It's fast and it's safe. ABSA has helped us bring our possibilities to life, hence making us a home of quality.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
So 2 minutes to 9. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It continues. So in the next hour, we want to open up the phone lines as well and ask you what your hopes are for this country in 2022. What do you hope to see in 2022 in Kenya?
Right. We can't run away from the fact that it's a significant year because we're looking at a general election.
Right.
Whereby, there will be a handover of the administration. There will be a change of guard from the very lowest level until the highest, across board. So in this time where change is going to come about in terms of governance and leadership, what are you hoping that will change? Or are you kind of feeling, status quo will be maintained, we just have a different individual who's driving the thing? But it's significant in terms of what could happen with new leadership. Whether you have a return individual or whether you have a new individual in place, because we know that some of those would be same individuals running the thing if they're not at the end of their term limit. But it's significant. And my hope would be that there's still hope for a lot of Kenyans to say that things can change, things can be better.
Things can be better.
For sure.
How much better? I mean, what does that better look like?
Yeah, I think I would be really miffed if Kenyans would be like, well, nothing really. I think that I still have hope in hope that Kenyans would say, yeah, we are hopeful on 1, 2, 3. And I think that's where you can say you still have some kind of life.
I hope there's a connection, though, between the hope that we have and our role in this hope, because you can hope if you want to see change,
right, you got to be participatory.
Yeah, we've got to see what role we have to play in that change. We can't talk about our counties, how much money has gone to the counties since 2013. What can we see? Have we seen devolution working, or is it not working? How much money what has happened to our economy? What has happened to our healthcare system? What has happened to our education system? What do we want to see, and then what role do we want to play in seeing that happen? So we'll be opening up the phone lines 0719 012 600 in the next hour, and that's the question. What do you hope to see in 2022? It's an election year. It's going to be silly season for campaigns. Politicians coming to us with all manner of promises and pledges. What are we hoping to see in the new year? Let's pick your calls after the news. Good morning. It's now 9 a.m.
Spice up your life.
The SpiceFM Newswire is brought to you by InDriver. Choose your preferred driver, mode of transport, and negotiate your fare to your destination for a safe, comfortable, and affordable trip only with InDriver.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning and Happy New Year to you. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. 6 people have been killed in Salama village in Lamu West, Lamu County. They were killed by unknown people. 4 were bound inside a house while 2 were beheaded. Police officers are at the scene as investigations begin. We will be bringing you any more unfolding details regarding that story. Deputy President William Ruto is today set to tour Trans Nzoia County as he drums up support for his 2022 presidential bid. According to the DP's itinerary, his tour kicks off at 9 a.m. in Cherangani with stopovers in Kachibora and Kesogon areas. Ruto will then head to Kwanza and Endebess Saboti with his visiting culminating in Kiminini constituency. It's back to school as students begin making their way back to 2021 third term after a short holiday break. Education CS Professor George Magoa rejected teachers' proposals to have the exam date be moved forward to give them the opportunity to complete the syllabus, saying the exams will be held as planned. The third term of the 2022 academic year will be 9 weeks before the national examinations for KCPE and KCSE candidates. KCPE exams will run for 4 days from the 7th to 10th of March, while KCSE examinations are expected to take 3 weeks from March 11th to April 2nd, while the marking exercise is also expected to take 3 weeks from April 4th to April 22nd. Engineers working under the China Genzhube Group company in the construction of the multi-billion Thwake Dam have made a major milestone, diverting a stretch of Athi River from the natural course to 2 megatunnels. The dam builders have already constructed 2 megatunnels which now provide a substitute waterway for Athi before its waters are channeled to rejoin the original course to the Indian Ocean. The dam, which is being constructed at the borders of Makueni and Kitui counties, is now at 65% and will be completed by June. A man has been arrested after a large fire severely damaged the Houses of Parliament in the South African city of Cape Town. A police spokesperson said the man was facing charges of arson, housebreaking and theft and would appear in court tomorrow. President Cyril Ramaphosa called it a terrible and devastating event as he vowed Parliament's work would continue. Officials said the fire started on the 3rd floor offices and quickly spread to the National Assembly chamber. The suspect is also expected to be charged under the National Key Points Act, which protects sites of strategic importance. Now, Israel is the first country in the world to approve an additional 4th dose against COVID-19 for people aged 60 years and above. Israel Prime Minister Naftali Bennett has said the move is aimed at protecting them against the Omicron variant. Bennett has also warned that the number of infections could increase, fearing that 500,000 people will be infected with the virus every day, while urging citizens to get vaccinated. Now, France has lowered the age of its mask mandate to 6-year-old children. The news came days before schools reopen following the winter holiday break. While the mandate requires children to wear masks in indoor public places, the mandate will also include outside locations in cities like Paris and Lyon, where an outside mandate is also in place. The wildly contagious Omicron variant, French authorities said, has resulted in 4 consecutive days of over 200,000 new infections. Authorities in Britain have warned that the surge in COVID-19 cases fueled by Omicron variant may force hospitals to ban visitors. And Americans returning home from holiday travel had to battle another day of airport chaos with more than 2,600 flights cancelled due to bad weather or airline staffing woes sparked by a surge in COVID-19 cases. Further disruptions are predicted for today as a winter storm blows eastward. As of 10 p.m., more than 2,650 domestic flights or international ones starting or finishing in the United States had been cancelled, almost as many as the 2,750 scrapped over the course on Saturday. That figure represented well over half of the nearly 4,400 flights cancelled around the world. Almost 8,600 U.S. flights were delayed. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto.
The SpiceFM Newswire is brought to you by InDriver. Download the InDriver app from the App Store or Google Play Store to enjoy a safe, comfortable, and affordable ride around Nairobi.
All right, a little bit on Mombasa Road this morning, and this is in and outbound. That outer ring traffic is making a decision about whether to be something or not. So ebbing and flowing there. We're looking at Uhuru Highway also has been really good this morning. And at the roundabout of Timor, that junction coming off Langata Road is where we'll see a little bit of traffic, but nothing much at all. And then as you get onto Raila Odinga Way out towards Gong Road, that looks good as well. All right, so we're having a bit of a problem on Waiaki Way. It's coming off James Gishuru, and that's a bit slow right now, but nothing too crazy. So today has been a good day traffic-wise. We'll be out of traffic hour in a few minutes, but it looks pretty good. Coming off the Thika Superhighway as well has been a dream this morning. Hopefully we're not going to wake up anytime soon. SpiceFM KE on Twitter, that's how you can get in touch this morning. Text on 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation
All
Room.
right. 7 minutes after 9. Kenya's biggest conversation continues. We're here until the top of the hour. That's 10 a.m. Where are you locked in from? Let's hear from you. 0719-012-600 as you tell us what your hopes and dreams are for Kenya in 2022, in this new year. But let's begin with today's proverb. It's a Somali proverb. The teeth and the tongue are close neighbors, and yet they sometimes bite each other. The teeth and the tongue are close neighbors, and yet they sometimes bite each other. Yeah, because they are close neighbors.
They will.
Yeah. They will always have one or two things, crossing over. Your chicken have crossed into my shamba,
Your cheek is in my tongue.
Your cheek is in yeah, all these things, yeah. Moses Gashari says, I'm offering to give President Uhuru Kenyatta a tour of the ground. Take him to the ground. What are your dreams? What are your aspirations? What are your hopes for Kenya in 2022? 0719-012-600. Victoria in Eldoret, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Morning, Victoria. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. I'm so much happy to hear that you crossed over well.
Yes, we thank God, and we're happy to hear you too as well.
Thank you so much.
Now, 2022.
Yes, now we are in 2022. I think it's the year which I've been talked about so much. I remember after 2017 elections,
yes,
we were saying that in the year...
Oh, we lost Victoria. Call back 0719-012-600. That's 0719-012-600. Yeah, this is a year that people started talking about in 2017.
Yep.
We're already talking about 2022, like it's so far away.
And here
the president saying, stop focusing on 20. Can we just work first? And then we shall talk about 2022 in 2022. We're in 2022. Let's talk about 2022. Victoria is back online. Good morning.
Good morning.
Sorry, we lost you. So you were saying we started talking about 2022 in 2017.
Imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, Kenya is a very interesting country. We are normal in politics. You will never know if the election is tomorrow, or the other.
Yes.
So I will not be surprised if after the 2022 election, we will start now singing about 2027.
Yeah.
But these are all things that make our country more, cohesive. We are so much happy. We have something to speak about. Again, the Jubilee government has been in the power for the last 8 years.
Yeah.
For now, 9 years.
Yep.
They are now in the last year. A few months from now, we are going to hold elections. And if you ask a person like me here in Eldoret, a place called Kapseret, Kipkenyo, I will say that I can give Jubilee government 20%. All the promises that they gave, in fact, it's the very small percentage they did. For example, the Jubilee government told us that they were going to give us a double economy.
Yeah, double-digit growth.
They said that they were going to create 2 million jobs every year, I think.
Yeah.
But even it's now the opposite. That now 2 million jobs were being lost every financial year. That now we are heading to 2022 having around 16-17 million people having no jobs.
Yeah.
So now you wonder what were they promising?
So what do you hope to see? What do you hope? What's your hope for 2022?
My hope for 2022 is this. I want leaders to be truthful.
Okay.
I want them, as they are now seeking votes, I want them to tell Kenyans what is the reality. Are they able to deliver what they are promising? Because if you are a leader and you are not doing that expectation that people are expecting you, you know that you are not now, even God himself will punish you. And my brothers, there's nobody who is permanent in this world. After this, all things we are doing in the world, you will be answerable one day to higher calling somewhere.
Yep, that's true.
And I need Kenyans to be more careful on what leaders are saying. Because my brothers, these people are friends. We are fighting in the grounds that we are so much divided politically, now ethnicity, and we even destroy life, shed blood. But our leaders, after this Ulula Balu, they will have an handshake.
Yep.
And what about the people who died? What about the property which were destroyed? What about people who ran away from their homes? Will they ever have life again?
No.
So we need to be so much careful. Again, this year I do pray that maybe this corona thing will go away. It's our prayer that although we have seen numbers now have started rising again, which is something which is making us worry. But it's our hope that maybe by June there, nothing like corona it will have gone away.
Yeah.
Thank you, Victoria.
And maybe the last thing, we have seen that we have so many social evils that have arisen. For example, here where I am, we have buried around 5 people who are committing suicide. So meaning that watu wanasumbuka in their vichwa vyao, kuna vitu vingi sana inawasumbua. You hear that somebody has taken his life, somebody has killed his family, so such things, they are on rise. People are in depression. So it's my prayer that maybe the government will sit down with the experts, they find out what is wrong.
Yep.
And maybe these things, we need to sort them out.
That's true. Thank you,
then
Victoria.
The very last thing, I wish you all the best. May Spice FM grow, our fans, wherever they are. We wish them all the very best. Thank you so much. This is our best breakfast show. Thank you.
Thank you, Victoria.
So much, Victoria.
Have a happy
so
2022
much.
as well. Karanja in Naivasha. Karanja.
Hi, Eric and Du.
Good morning, Karanja.
Happy New Year, Karanja.
My New Year was very nice.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope you yourself, you had a serene holidays.
Yes.
Yes, to mean peaceful and calm, yes?
Indeed.
Yes.
Now,
Mm-hmm.
I have a package of expectation from this year,
Okay.
especially number one.
Mm-hmm.
I hope the MOH, Ministry of Health, should have given more people more doses than ever before. They should target like 20 people. Number two,
Mm-hmm. The target actually is 30 million.
yes, they should be 40, even 40. I should add that it become 40. eh?
Okay. Uh-huh.
Number two, I think political temperatures. The politicians should lower their temperatures so that we can have a good election in a year and even have a conducive environment for people to do their businesses.
Okay.
Number three, now that we know on the 1st or 6th or 7th, they go back there to the parliament to have this role of the Political Parties Act. I think they should not do it in parliament because they are bringing Aibu in the whole world. They should in fact try and find somewhere. They can go even in Bomas and do their shenanigans there, rather than going to the parliament and do their bad thing there. In fact, it's not good. And then number four, Eric, I hope the situation room, I pray for God that Eric should be very healthy, do and city, including the KTN fraternity. I wish them a serene, happy New Year and a prosperous New Year. Thank you very much, Eric.
Asante sana. We wish you the same, Karanja.
Thank you.
0719-012-600. What are your dreams and expectations for Kenya in 2022? So it's all about the politics and leadership.
Indeed. And I think because unfortunately, or fortunately in this case, it's what's going to drive a lot of these dreams to reality. A lot of these hopes then are hedged on what those who are sitting in the positions of leadership then will decide to do. It's not about ability, because we know that they are able. Now, if they make the decisions and say, look, where we've come from, we're not going to go back there again, but that we're going to go forward, making sure that the very desires that Kenyans have, the hopes and the dreams that they've laid bare to people when they cast their vote and say, this is what we actually want. This is what we need. This is what we desire, to be able to live in this country with dignity. If you decide to do that, you then are responsible for making these things come to be. And so I think I am, if I just want to think about how hopeful I am as well, to say that here's an opportunity, once again being presented with a unique opportunity to make life better for one person. One, not even 47 million, 50 million.
Just one.
One person in a position where you are. Because even as much as people say that you hope or you trust in God, still look at the hope that's being placed at the doorstep of individuals who are going to occupy seats of government. That I hope my MCA will do this. That I hope my member of parliament will do this. I hope my senator will do this. I hope my governor will do this. I hope my president will do this. That's where the hope is, you know? So here you are, even though you place your belief in a higher power, you are putting your tangible hope at the doorstep of
the doorstep of somebody.
It's huge responsibility, man. And I
already
hope
ordered.
that those
They should accept
take it,
that.
yeah.
Let's go back to the phone line 0719012600. Moses.
Hi, Eric. How are you doing? For my neighbor.
Salama kabisa. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Ndu, how are you doing?
I am very well, thank you.
Now, the good book says, faith with no action is dead.
It's dead.
Yeah. Now, what do I hope for Kenya? I just hope that we can really embrace the real bottom up, not this one that we have been sold for by strange guys going around our country. And what do I mean by that? I listen to your show so many times, and I hear people talking about local issues, but expecting presidents to do them, governor to do them. You want your dispensary doesn't have drugs, and you're asking the president to do that. But you have an MCA. I can confess that I've been voting for maybe 20 years or slightly more. I have never known which MCA I vote for.
You just vote.
I just go and put LSG 3. It used to be 3-piece, then it became 6-piece. We don't even know who that guy is. But when I don't have water in my house, in my estate, or my garbage is not collected, or the sewer is bad, I expect the president to come and do that for me. So my hope is, let's just go back to the basics. There's a guy who keeps saying the only thing you start from the top is digging a grave. Deal with the local issues. If you get your MCA right, and he feels that he owes you his position because he has a connection to you, you will get your MP right, you will get your governor right, you'll get your senator right, and you'll get the president right. Absolutely. And by the time the issues get into the president, it's been sieved at the bottom level. Absolutely. So if I want, like you guys keep saying, if you want Mombasa Road sorted out, let us deal with that. Who is the Mombasa Road falls in which ward? Let that guy insist that those bridges are put fast. Before the Chinese start charging people to drive on those expressways. If you want water in your house, deal with your MCA first. He tells you where the water comes from, Sasumo, or wherever it comes from. Where does it disappear before it gets to your house? If you sort that out, he will go to the county assembly. He will fight as hell, like for you, because he owes you. But if you do 6-piece, what will happen? Who does he owe? He owes some party or some amorphous organization up there.
In fact,
that is my hope for 20.
So your MCA just looks up to the president as well.
Sure.
The MCA feels that they're answerable to the president, not you.
If you look at what our politicians are doing right now, what are they doing? They're hedging. They are looking which side is the wave going. The moment they figure out which side the wave is going, they will all fall there like leaves. They will follow the leaves. In school, they used to call them Nile cabbages because they follow the wind. That is what these guys are doing right now. They don't care about what you and I want, but us, we care about what we want.
That's very true.
So if we want to start, if we want to have a hopeful country, let's stop. Tuache kusumbua Mungu na vitu ambazo are within our purview. Let's stop pretending that divine intervention. Uchaguzi utoka kwa Mungu. We are the ones who vote. We have never seen him in the queue.
That's true. That's true. Thank you very much, Moses.
Yes, Eric.
Have a lovely day. Have a happy 2022.
And you too. Happy New Year.
All right.
Happy New Year.
0719012600. What Moses has said basically just goes to the bottom, to the heart of matter for me as well. Because if we do not connect our local issues with what we expect to see by local leadership, then we are just completely, everybody's talking about, is it UDA, is it Azimio, is it blah, blah. But ask yourself, all the many things that affect you directly, like we're saying, sewer system, water, you're talking about garbage collection, you're talking about cost of doing business in your area. Who's in charge of that? That's your local MCA who goes to your local county assembly, who makes sure that laws are passed, who makes sure that the governor is doing the right thing. If we start there, we're going to have a good president at the top. Because even the president will now see there'll be pressure coming from the ground up.
Sure.
If MCAs are not applying pressure on a governor to do the right thing, if MCAs are only applying pressure on a governor to give them money to travel to Tanzania for benchmarking, then we are lost.
Look, I think it even starts, and I think oftentimes the question comes at, so what am I supposed to do? Look, something as basic as even knowing who your ward rep is, I'm not even saying go and look for them, knowing who the individual is. Before then you take the next step, I think is just as important. Who do you go to when you have these issues? Do you even know who your representative is today? How many people right now can put up a hand and honestly say that they know who their ward rep is? Because let's get as granular as possible.
Yep.
This is the person who is responsible for articulating your issues.
Yep.
That's what they are. They are the representative on the ground. Do you know who they are? I told you the other day in Syokimau here, the MCA
is among the people who are contributing.
And he's the person who's supposed to be articulating the issues at the county level.
Yep.
They're joining you to contribute, and you're supposed to be talking to them and bringing these issues so they can go and then represent you. So we're asking, what can you do? First, that's something you can do. Know who your representative is. Are you forming caucuses amongst yourselves and saying, who can we go to speak to?
Yep.
The basic things which affect you. We don't have a basic healthcare center in this ward.
Yep.
Our roads are a shambles. Nobody is picking up our garbage.
Insecurity has become an issue.
Water. Insecurity is an issue. We don't have a functioning school in our ward. Those are the things that we're talking about. Because this thing, it trickles. It trickles. You start to have these conversations. These are the things that bring about the change. But if you sit there and say, even the person who's supposed to represent you is also sitting there and saying, who do I talk to?
So we'll all look at the president and say, we, the people of Syokimau, do not have a health facility in our area. And, this Uhuru man has lied to us. No.
Okay.
If we all internalize that and said, all right, so we need to know what's the nearest health facility for me. Is it in my ward or is it in a neighboring ward? Start from there. Why do I have a level 2 facility in a neighboring ward, not in my ward?
Exactly. Why do you have a road that needs to be leveled off and then all of you are contributing money to pay the county government to bring their vehicles to grade a road? Can you imagine? Those are some of the things we're talking about. And then you think that it's all right because you're so frustrated because of the state of the road until your senses are even warped. You don't understand that this is not the way it ought to be.
Yep.
So some strategic forward thinking on the part, because I think maybe this is the year when we start to realize just how much we also make up part of government. That you say, we are in this thing together. So you who has been given the seat and is being paid a salary, my job is to make sure you do yours.
That's true.
Yeah.
And like someone said earlier in one of the callers, we need to have leaders who also come to us truthfully. And in addition to having people who are coming seeking our votes with the truth, we also need to face our own truths. What is it that I'm supposed to do? What is it that I can do? How can I apply pressure? How can I question what this person is telling me? When the person comes and tells me, in this area, we are going to make our county the best, we are going to blah, 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 blah. Ask how. If we don't start by asking the hows and seeking to understand this person wants to do this and the other, and this is how they're going to do it. This is a roadmap to achieving what they're saying that we ought to achieve. And I agree that we ought to achieve this. If we don't start asking how, we are never going to put them to account, hold them to account.
And that's why people can come to you and give you this whole plethora of promises and just go away because they're used to coming to tell you that they're going to do this. Nobody actually asks them, oh, really? You're going to end water shortage in this country and we don't even have a sewage system and we don't have a piped system in this area. How are you going to end the water shortage? We don't even know what water supply is. Then you want to end the shortage. What are you talking about? So nobody's asking how. People are coming about and making promises. We are going to 100 billion. Boom. 100 billion. Boom. How?
That's going to be the solution.
6,000. Where is it going to come from? How are you going to do it? Nobody's asking the question because those who make the promises are used to coming and saying things and going. How are you going to do it? You're going to make sure that UHC is working. How are you going to do it when you don't have a functioning NHIF? You're going to build 10,000 classrooms. How are you going to do it when the ones you have right now don't even have the requisite
You did
infrastructure.
desks. Those desks are not even in operation.
How are you going to do
How
it?
many of those desks that were done in 2020 during COVID year, which was supposed to be the stimulus package?
Yes.
How many of those desks are in use today?
How many of them are
How
completed
much does
against
it
the
mean to
targeted
have
number?
10,000 classrooms with 9 billion shillings? How much per classroom again? Is it feasible?
The question, because it sounds
Someone was doing the
nice.
math and saying it comes down to around 750,000 shillings per classroom. All right, so 750,000 shillings per classroom.
What exactly does that mean?
What's the size of that classroom?
And what does it come complete?
Is it complete with windows and doors? Does it have desks inside? Does it have chairs? Are there blackboards? Just the basics? Is it possible?
It's time to start asking questions about some of these things. How is it going to be done? It would be great for me to see a rally where somebody comes about and says, hey, we are. Or say, okay, thank you very much.
Sasa.
Lakini, how do you intend on
Tell
doing it?
us
We want to know
how.
how.
Yes.
We want to know how.
Usiseme 10 billion shillings, 100 billion
Because
shillings,
it sounds
100
fancy.
billion shillings for
Yeah.
youth, 100 billion shillings. Kila mtu atapata alaf sita. How?
How?
9:30. We still want to hear from you. 0719-012-600. What are your dreams and expectations for Kenya in 2022? What is it? Atieno says, for me, I just want to see scale higher heights in all my endeavors and help others scale higher as well. Yes, that's a good thing at a personal level. At country level, what do you hope to see, Atieno? Let's take a break, take a look at the weather and the traffic. We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
No, you know, this wheelbarrow, how can you give people wheelbarrow? His party symbol is an umbrella. Is he distributing umbrellas in Makueni?
Have you been told if we don't lock between 10 to 4, this is what we're saving?
You try and call them, the same person who was in your house every day, because they know you are influential and you will give them votes. Call them after 1 month and see if they'll pick up their phone.
Don't tell your member of parliament that you want him to come and build a school, you want him to come and do a hospital. That is not the work of the member. Now that we have devolution in this country, these resources should go to those devolved units.
You have to have strong, independent institutions. And I mean, you have to have police who has the right to take the biggest town in the country and question, why did you do this and that, and send them to court if necessary.
Joel in Kericho, good morning.
Salama sana Eric, habari ya asubuhi.
Salama kabisa. Mbunge wako ni nani?
Anaitwa Silvanus Martin, hapa ni Ainamoi.
Silvanus Maritim Ainamoi.
Yes.
Ehe.
Sasa ile juma namwambia yeye nini? Amalize aende. Asante sana.
That's it.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
The sun speaking through those clouds in Nairobi, but we're going to have cloudy conditions later. 19 degrees, highs of 26 and lows of 16. All right, it's sunny at 19 in Nakuru City, highs of 28 and lows of 13. All right, we are also looking at sunny conditions in Nyeri at 18, highs of 25 and lows of 11. It's 20 and mostly sunny in Eldoret, highs of 26 and lows of 12. Mombasa raining at 29, highs of 32 and lows of 25. Malindi is also wet at 29, highs of 32 and lows of 26. Sunny conditions at 24 in Kisumu, highs of 29 and lows of 19. While in Kakamega, it's sunny at 26, highs of 30 and lows of 15. We're looking at sunny conditions in Kampala at 21, highs of 27 and lows of 19. And Dar es Salaam is sunny at 30, highs of 32 and lows of 27. We're looking also at sunny conditions at 18 in Johannesburg, highs of 26 and lows of 15, while Lagos is mostly sunny at 26. It'll go to highs of 33 and lows of 25. It's raining in Kinshasa now at 25, highs of 29 and lows of 23, while out in Beijing, it's sunny at 5, highs of 11 and lows of 10. We're looking at light rain now in Paris at 12. That'll be the high for today, coming down to lows of 9. 10 degrees and clear in London, highs of 11 today. And coming into early Monday morning, it's 3 degrees in New York and mostly clear. That'll be the high for today, going to lows of -5.
Spice up your life.
Okay, just a little bit here and there on Mombasa Road. Southern bypass is looking pretty good, as is the eastern and northern and the Red Hill coming off of Waiyaki Way in Westlands. A little bit of a hiccup right around Landis Road, and this is coming off Lusaka Road as well as Jogo Road, and then going towards Kamkunji at the roundabout. Haile Selassie is clearing up. Uhuru Highway has behaved very well today. Just pockets of traffic around the construction areas. Nothing on the Thika Superhighway. That has been pretty well behaved all day, and Kiambu Road has also looked pretty good. Ring Road, Ngara, as well as Juju Road, a little bit of traffic here and there. Eastern part of the city looking a little bit clogged, but nothing to worry about. It's been really good this morning. Hopefully, the dream continues tomorrow, but we'll have a look at things as they unfold. SpiceFM KE on Twitter through today. Text 40127.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Conversation, it continues. We want to hear from you. 0719-012-600. That's 0719-012-600. My friend Tony says, as we talk about the how, the one thing that we should remind everybody to demand from politicians and leaders are timeless. Out of these promises, what percentage will be done by what time? That will help in as far as accountability is concerned. So yeah, give me the roadmap. Clear with milestones. Don't just tell me I'm going to give you universal health coverage in the first quarter of no. Let's go step by step. This will happen and then this will be the result. This will happen, this will be the output, this will be the outcome. At the end of it, yes, we know everybody will have access to affordable and accessible healthcare. But what are the various outputs and various milestones in this journey? If we don't discuss that, so we're talking about, youth empowerment and empowering small businesses so they can thrive. All right, and 100 billion shillings is going to put into some kitty which will be accessed. Okay, let's go through step by step, into the details. Exactly how and by when.
And, the thing is, because I've seen a question here, is that, when you ask people how, really, what does it do for you? Let me tell you something. When you have intimate knowledge of the thing that you're talking about, chances are that you really care about this thing and that you're telling the truth.
Yep.
Because what you've done is that you've gone through the details and this is exactly how it's going to unfold. So you've had a conversation with it. You've had other people weigh in on it. They've given their advice. You've looked through the numbers. You said this is how it's going to be possible. So you have played with it with your fingers, as they say. You've let the sand run through your fingers. You know what it is that you're talking about. And the only reason that you would go through something so intimately and have this knowledge of it is because you were interested in it. That's the only reason why you would bother to go through the details of how something was going to go through, because you are interested in actually doing it properly. If you're going to gloss over something, right, and you're not really interested in the details, chances are that you're not really interested in it.
Yep.
That you just want to do surface level business and then go.
You're just talking about things.
Exactly.
Because they sound good.
Yes. So when you're asking somebody to present to you the how, and they're actually able to do it, I'd say go with that individual. Because this is the person who knows what it is they're talking about and has an interest in it so strong that they've gone ahead to go into the details and say, this is how we're going to do this. That's the person to go with, if you ask me.
That's true.
Not these other things who just come and throw numbers at you as though they want to
just talk. No. Zachary.
Oh, good morning, people.
Happy New Year,
Happy
Zachary.
New Year.
Oh, Happy New Year. Happy New Year, everyone there, including Warimamburo Adro, who is not there.
Yes.
And, it's good. It's good. And, we are alive and we are able to cross over to the new year.
Yes.
Despite the many, many, many challenges. Actually, this is the first Christmas that I saw people, just doing the ordinary things they used to do. And they are not pretending. They don't have money. They don't have means to celebrate.
Indeed.
But they were in one piece and they were not, sick. So we praise God. And let me answer your question as to why you're asking, what do we expect about this year? let me tell you that no one in Kenya can tell what, we call it a pregnancy. Kenya is pregnant with something that we don't know what it's going to bring about, and we should accept this, yeah? Going by what we saw in Parliament, the very, very honorable members actually shedding blood in Parliament. That is an abomination. And, we don't know. Kenya is pregnant, let me just say that. And we are on the ground. Like me, myself, I'm in the ground and I'm meeting various people, asking the ordinary person,
What are people saying then, Zachary?
Pardon?
What are they saying? What do they look forward to in 2022? The people in your corner of the ground.
Most of them are saying if the things don't go away, we shall have some questions to ask. You ask them, who are we going to ask the question? Oh, we know, okay? So Kenya is pregnant and we do not know what it's going to give birth to.
Do you think they know? When they say we know who we're going to ask, do you believe that they do know?
I cannot answer on their behalf. But let me just maintain that Kenya is pregnant, and when a woman is pregnant or an animal is pregnant, you do not know what it is going to give birth to, whether to a lame person, whether to a kipoe or to who. Now, on the previous topic that you are holding when you are on KTN, yeah? Let me remind you again, and I think I told you again, it's the time I told you, some speeches are just made, for form of, there's protocol when you got some other big people in some other quarters, yeah? Even the way you go to the toilet, there is a protocol. You just okay? Well, Mr. Eric, when you attain some status, even when you go to your home and say that you want to eat ugali, you just don't go and say, oh, I want to eat ugali. There is a protocol. Do you understand? When you attain some status, okay? And these speeches are not meant for you. For me, that is me, Zachary, here, down here, the ordinary part. Does the president come to borrow money from me?
So who is he addressing when he makes these public addresses? He wants
the speeches. I think are meant for the guys who matter, the ones who have got big pockets. Okay.
So
the ones who he turns to when he wants money, more money.
So what does he want? What does he want them to do when he says you're going to have a reduction in power prices by April, by March? Or you're going to have universal health coverage in 2022.
Definitely from there, he has a springboard to tell those guys, oh, you heard that I promised. Public forum. These people who are crying that the charges are so high. So how am I going to assist me to get money to subside? Okay? Some speeches, Mr. Eric, are not meant for you and me. Okay?
But you still don't even see the result. So, is there a result that is seen by others that we don't see? If for example, the president says we are going to have 500,000 new affordable housing units by the end of my second term. So let's say that he's addressing a certain demographic.
Yeah.
Okay.
But those houses can be seen by everybody, can they not?
They can be, but now remember again this, yeah? The money comes, a certain house, a media house, like now US organizes, they will let us meet the president and ask him one or two questions, yeah? And he accepts. By the way, I respect him because there's a word that I'm forgetting about this English of mine. He is an approachable person, yeah?
Yeah.
And he is a man of the people, very good PR, yeah? And then in that forum, he tells us that, do you know that every day we are losing 2 billion shillings? Okay? So he made the formal speech, and we listened because you cannot interrupt the president when he is talking, okay? The guys who are meant to hear, that is the guys, the honchos, the ones with very big money. And the basic money is beautiful, yeah? And good and cute. Now, they give him the money, yeah? But then there are these other guys who are now supposed to implement the project, yeah? They say, oh, we have not stolen 2 billion, the 2 billion shillings, yeah? So the money was given, granted either through aid or our own or whatever. But then there are these guys with some very big stomachs, and pockets, They are taking that money in the tune of 2 billion per day, as per the president's word, And actually, the end result is that we are told, there are going to be this number of houses, there's going to be reduction of power, but we are not seeing it on the ground. So me, who is the ordinary person, Babu Izera here down, and Mr. Eric there, we remain so much poor that we don't know about tomorrow, That is how the state is run. Otherwise, let me, Mr. Eric, finally convey my condolences to the family of Mr. Charles Njonjo and Mr. Richard Leakey. Those were guys that we grew hearing about, and we aspired to be like them, and they have done so much for Kenya, and therefore may they rest in peace.
Indeed.
Asante.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zachary.
Thank you.
0719-012-600. Eugene Okiri says, a politician and a leader are two different people. Leaders have a vision that helps society and helps their followers to deliver that vision. Politicians care about their own advancement. Politics is killing our dreams.
It's true. But unfortunately, the thing is that you can have both. There are some examples.
Political leaders.
Yes. There are some examples of leaders who've been politicians. Unfortunately, there are fewer examples of politicians who have been leaders. But you can have a good balance between the both of them, because you also realize that there is a balance upon which you can play, whereby a leader, in order to get things done, has to play a side of politics that, can be managed, can be balanced, can be manageable.
Is that what the president was also talking about? Talking about, this push for politics, the political kingdom. Because listen to what the president said. Maybe he says, although we have built a strong foundation for generations to come, we can destroy it in one stroke. And that's why this New Year's Day, we must reflect on the irreducible minimums required for the survival of our nation state. For starters, we must choose leadership over politics. Leadership is about vision. Politics is about positions. Leadership is about the next generation. Politics is about the next election. And our obsession with politics has only slowed down the realization of our potential as a people. You cannot fault what he has said there. Leadership is about vision. It's about posterity. It's about a legacy. Politics is about the now, the immediate, the next.
I still see politics as a stumbling block of development, unfortunately. There are a lot of times where politics plays a very important role in how things are done. The kind of politics that we see playing out is, unfortunately, personal expediency. And it's not about, because politics can be used to get things done. But the kind of politics that we've seen has been a stumbling block in the way of many things happening, unfortunately. That people are only interested in what is going to suit them. People are only interested in what is going to suit their communities or their particular families, and are not really interested in how it's going to push the country forward. It's going to make life better for one individual, and then a family, and then a community, and then the country at large. But the politics that we see standing in the way of getting things done, the little petty politics that we see of 10,000 shillings in the toilet, or this, that, the other thing that brings
bringing
about
others
corruption,
down. If somebody has an idea, you want to crush them.
because it doesn't do anything for you.
Yep.
I think politics plays a very important role in getting things done. It's not negative all the time, but I think people have used it, unfortunately, as a stump. It has become.
Do you
a
think it's
block.
structural? Because the president said, what the president said, by the way, on this particular, what he called his first doctrine, shifting from politics to leadership, is profound, because he's saying that it's the colonial masters who created this system as it is, where made the African native run after politics, while the colonialist, the foreigner, is actually enjoying the benefits of the economy.
But do you know what it was? Is that somebody who had a particular office then had access to certain things.
Yep.
Somebody held office, they had access to land, they had access to, unending,
So they're given a little bit
resources.
here, there,
So you can
but
so
the
you
actual
taste
economy
it.
is still being run by
Right.
others.
So they give you a little bit of it, you taste it, and you think, oh my goodness, in order for me to have a superfluous supply of this thing, then I need to be in this position. And hasn't that carried that? Why
That's
do
still
people-
what we see today.
Yeah. Why do people run for office? Very few people run in order to get things done. Very many people run to continue to taste that because that power is sweet. Very many people run to that place so that they can be in the middle of it all the time. I agree. But the question is, just because it was introduced in that manner, do we still have to exist with those hang-ups today? We don't. Were we not existing without them before the onset of colonialism? We did.
It calls for selflessness.
Absolutely. Absolutely. How are we operating? How did communities exist? How were the structures set up? How did trade happen? What was it? Right? Modern times have come along. Why can't you take a previously used structure
What
and apply
worked?
it to modern? What worked then? As they say, the old adage says, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Why can it not be used? So now colonialism came and made you taste a certain kind of thing. Then you're left behaving in a certain manner. You're still running after this thing.
You know what was the funniest part for me when I read this speech by the president? I thought, aren't you the same person who was pushing BBI for that whole reason?
Exactly.
Of politics.
To get rid of it
So that we can get politics sorted.
once and for all and have an
And he still
equal
says the
distribution
BBI is about
across.
political power, is about politics. I mean, if he's saying this, then he's saying he's abandoning BBI. Anthony in Mombasa, good morning.
Good morning, my friend. Morning to you.
Good morning.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Anthony.
Well, my friend, I'm not happy anyway because I lost a brother through road accident
Pole sana. Pole.
around on your way from Rongo Migori Highway, around a place called River Odundu. The body is still lying in Rosewood Rongo mortuary.
Poleni sana.
But I just want to say something on about leadership. When we go back to the Bible, you saw the kind of leadership Moses was having. Even when he found an Israelite wanted to fighting with the Egyptian, what did he do to that person? He killed the Egyptian and buried him, just to maintain his identity as a leader of the Israelites. When Moses took a lot of time on the mountain, he came back with the full gospel of the 10 Commandments. He found the Israelites have
created their own
gone
gods.
away from God's will. The person who was convincing the Israelites that where is Moses? What should we do? We want a physical God. Who was he? He got the political mileage just because of telling the people we want a practical God.
Yes.
Because they were used to a God of order.
Yes.
In quotes. So what happened to this man? Did he end up dying? Yes. He ended up dying with the people who associated with him in going the wrong side. I want us to come back to the real problem facing this country now. There is two different distinctions between a leader and a politician. As we speak today, many people are saying politics is a bad game just because we have allowed the bad people to entertain us during politics. And we know we cannot separate leadership with politics because politics is everything. In this country, politics is everything. So if we disassociate ourselves with the politics, good leaders like Maraga will stay away because when they enter in politics, they will be tainted. Their image will be tainted. Their reputations will be questioned. Oh, he did this. he did this, he did this. So in short, I want to tell you this. Good people of goodwill should come out this time round and fight for what we call redemption.
Right.
And I want to urge the entire Kenya, and I know they are listening to me everywhere. This is a national station. They need to come up and wake up from their stubborn custom built and start joining. If enough is enough, we have to fight for what is right for them. We know the next generation belongs to our actions now. If we cannot lay a lot of emphasis on the next generation, then all these things are going to be put in the hands of Majoni or cohorts of, my father was a CEO, my father was chief, my father was assistant chief, so I have to retain that.
That's true. Thank you very much, Anthony.
Yes, we have to change.
Asante sana, and you've said
Anthony
it very well. Thank you very much.
Yeah, 2020.
Asante. James.
Good morning. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, James. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you guys?
Very well.
Well, what I wanted to say, I think, has just been said by Anthony, that the people of goodwill need to come up. And if there's any time in Kenya where the so-called middle class need to rise up and take their rightful position, is now. And who has just said it, what happened in the past? In the past, leadership was a communal thing. Everybody in the society had a role. Unfortunately, these days we have abdicated most of that role to a few people, and not sometimes the sharpest tools in the shed, that we end up where we are today. Have you ever asked yourself one question? Why is there, have you ever heard of a public rally being held in Kileleshwa, in Runda, in Nyeri, in Mombasa?
Hardly.
Right? Why? Because the middle class will, they say this is not our problem, my kids are in good schools, I have a good job. But one thing that COVID should have taught everyone is that your so-called goodness today can be erased by the blink of an eye, by a common cold. It wiped out all those things. So it is time, I think, in 2022, as Kenyans of goodwill, the so-called middle class, starts taking a role so that we end up asking the question. Don't come and tell me I will give you 6,000. Calculate for me and show me how.
Right.
And how it's going to be sustainable. Now, the person, unfortunately, who's living in not in that situation doesn't care about the how, because his how is, where's my next meal coming from? The person who is in the Kileleshwa and Runda may start questioning the how, because his next meal is in the fridge. That's number one. Secondly, what do we need for 2022? On personal level, we just need to get back to public order. Public disorder is what keeps us on the roads for 5 hours, what used to be a 2-hour trip. Borders crisscrossing all over, they're becoming a gang. We don't care about how the money is made. The money has been made. So apart from asking ourselves the questions why and the how, people of goodwill need to get up. And we just need to change this politics, that you don't have dancing competitions over there, populist statements, then people doing crowdnomics, saying, unaona yangu ilikuwa kubwa kuliko ile ingine. It doesn't make sense at all. Speeches that have been made, I suppose speeches by their nature are normally aspirational. Is to ignite an aspiration within the people that who want better, we can get better, we can do better. So the speech maker and the speech writer put their aspirations on a paper, voice the same. Now it is for us now to take it to the next step, to actualize the aspiration. The aspiration is actualized by asking the question now, how do we get there? We draw a roadmap and we start moving.
We start moving towards it.
Together. We cannot let the same old people tell us new things. If they didn't do it in the last 20 years, surely.
How can they do it now?
How can they do it in the next 5?
That's very true. Thank you very much.
Do have a good day.
You too.
Okay.
Have a lovely one. And thank you very much for all the calls this morning, for the engagement. Yes, we are beginning this new year, and this is it. This is an election year. We need to have very candid conversations. All of us. We ought to face it. We can't just be sitting here and saying, oh, yeah, you see these ones have said, you see now Azimio have gotten so and so, you see now so and so has defected, has moved from Oka has gone now to Azimio, so now Azimio is... We are not going to have those kind of conversations in a situation room at all. We will be having other conversations that are more sincere and serious. Asante sana for joining us. So, let me remind you today's proverb. It's a Somali proverb. The teeth and the tongue are close neighbors, and yet they sometimes bite each other. Translate, Ndu.
By virtue of the fact that you live in the same space, you're likely to clash. It's going to happen. You're going to get in somebody's way at some point because you live closely.
But you've got to understand, it doesn't matter how much or how painful the bite was, you're not moving.
No, you have to live.
You have to live.
So learn to dance out of each other's spaces, operate in the same space. You can actually get by without the bite.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation today. Join us again tomorrow morning, God willing, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. We have more entertainment and music coming up on SpiceFM throughout the day. You've got Sugar and Spice, you've got Quatch, you've got the adults in the room. And then you have more music, and we'll be back tomorrow. Have a lovely day, folks. It's now 10 a.m.
Spice up your life